Chapter 217. Qin Feiyang asked, "What's the condition?" Just as Pan Wang was about to speak, a young girl in the prime of her youth rushed in. "Father, you can't give him the martial arts technique no matter what." It was Xia Qianqian. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. What he was afraid of really came true. Wolf King's eyes flashed fiercely, and he said telepathically, "Little Qin Zi, just take her down and threaten King Pan." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. Using the princess to threaten King Pan in the throne room. This bastard thought of it. One had to know. This was someone else's territory. At that time, even Jiang Jingyi couldn't protect them. Xia Qianqian glanced fiercely at the man and wolf, ran to King Pan, hugged his arm, and said aggrievedly, "Father, they bullied me in Yin County. Quickly take them down." King Pan frowned and said, "Don't be rude to the guests." "Are they guests?" "Father, I want them to have a taste of being bullied." Xia Qianqian's face was full of disdain and resentment. Qin Feiyang said, "You only know how to blame others and don't know how to reflect. Is this the virtue of Princess Pan?" "What did you say?" Xia Qianqian suddenly turned to look at him, her eyes flashing with strong hatred. King Pan pulled her back and said with a frown, "Qin Feiyang, isn't it a bit inappropriate to criticize my daughter in front of me?" Even now, King Pan is still protecting her. No wonder she is so arrogant and rude. It's all because you spoil her. Although there is an old saying that a poor son and a rich daughter, to spoil her to this extent is your dereliction of duty, King Pan. I don't mean anything else. I'm just worried that if you continue to spoil her, she might bring disaster to you in the future. King Pan, you have to be careful," Qin Feiyang said lightly. "Bastard." Xia Qianqian was so angry that her body trembled, and she shouted in a stern voice, "Men, take them down for me." Tada! Accompanied by a series of hurried footsteps. For black-armored guards ran into the throne room. His gaze was extremely sharp. The long spear in his hand shone with a cold light. The palace was instantly filled with a murderous aura. Roar! Wolf King let out a fierce roar, his entire body exuding an astonishing aura of hostility. "Calm down." Qin Feiyang reached out to stop it. He raised his head and looked at the King of Pan. His gaze was calm. King Pan's heart was filled with disbelief. To be able to remain so calm in the face of such a situation, this person's temperament was truly impressive. The four guards surrounded the man and the wolf, but they didn't attack. Instead, they looked at Pan Wang questioningly. "Didn't you hear what I said? Take them down." Xia Qianqian shouted. "Yes." One of the guards nodded and shouted, "Let go." Pan Wang said, "Wait." The four of them immediately stopped. Xia Qianqian turned to look at Pan Wang and said, "Father." Pan Wang said angrily, "That's enough. There's nothing for you to do here. Get down." Xia Qianqian said unwillingly, "Father, he already said that to you. Are you still planning to let them go?" Pan Wang sighed helplessly and looked at Qin Feiyang. "If you are willing to join Pan County, I will give you the perfect martial skill." "What?" Xia Qianqian's eyes widened. She seriously suspected that there was something wrong with her ears. But after thinking about it, the corner of her mouth pursed into a sneer. As long as this man and wolf joined Pan County, wouldn't she be able to play with them wantonly? Qin Feiyang frowned and said with a faint smile, "You want to bribe me with a perfect martial skill. King Pan is really generous." There was a trace of sarcasm in his words. Pan Wang said with a smile, "A perfect martial skill is extremely rare. If you miss the village, there won't be a shop. Think about it carefully." "Rare?" Qin Feiyang didn't hide his sneer and said indifferently, "I have a good suggestion. I will use the list of medicinal ingredients for the potential pill to exchange for that martial skill. How about it?" Since most of the medicinal ingredients in the major cities had been swept clean by him and Jiang Jingyi, it didn't matter if he told these people about the medicinal ingredients. Pan Wang was obviously tempted, but he shook his head and said, "It's not worth it, unless you give me the pill recipe for the potential pill." "Give you the pill recipe?" Qin Feiyang was so angry that he laughed. "Pan Wang, don't you think this request is ridiculous? Before coming, I told myself to be amiable. After all, you are a senior and a duke. But I didn't expect that my amiable attitude would be exchanged with you guys wanting a yard after taking an inch." I don't want the martial skill. White-eyed wolf, let's go. Qin Feiyong called out and turned to walk out of the hall. Hee, don't regret it. Wolf King grinned at Pan Wang and his daughter, then turned around and chased after Qin Feiyong. Xia Qianqian's eyes were spitting fire. She shouted at the 4 guards, "What are you waiting for? Stop them!" Whoosh! The 4 of them turned around and took a few steps forward, blocking the path of the man and the wolf. What? Are you trying to coerce me? Qin Feiyong said indifferently. Pan Wang looked at the man and wolf, his eyes flickering. In the end, he nodded and said, "Okay, I promise you. Use the list of herbs in exchange." Qin Feiyong raised the corner of his mouth and shook his head. "I'm sorry, I'm no longer interested in that martial skill." Pan Wang's eyes darkened. "You're making fun of me." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. "You're the one who's insatiable, and now you're blaming me. Are the royal families of Pan County also rude and unreasonable? Also, I can't bear the crime of making fun of the Duke. You can't use your status to slander me." He added, "Preposterous." Xia Qianqian was so angry that she stomped her feet. "Father, he's looking down on our royal family. Quickly kill them. Take them down." Pan Wang's face was gloomy as he waved his hand. Killing intent surged in the eyes of the 4 guards as they rushed toward Qin Feiyong and Wolf King in unison. "I promise, you'll regret it." Qin Feiyong grinned at Pan Wang and led Wolf King directly to the castle. The 4 guards were bewildered. Pan Wang also stood up abruptly. His eyes swept over the place where the man and wolf disappeared, and he was full of disbelief. How could such a big living person disappear into thin air? He looked at Xia Qianqian and asked, "What's going on?" "I don't know either." Xia Qianqian shook her head. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something and said, "I heard in Yin County that Qin Feiyong has a treasure that can hide him. He must be hiding in there now. It's said that he can even hear the conversation outside." "Heard about it." Pan Wang's face was full of disbelief. Even he couldn't sense it. What level was the treasure hiding in there? "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" He glared at Xia Qianqian angrily. If he had known this earlier, he wouldn't have dared to use force. After being fiercely glared at by Pan Wang, Xia Qianqian felt so wrong that tears flowed out of her eyes. Pan Wang felt helpless and comforted her. All right, it's my fault. I shouldn't blame you, but you really have to change your temper." Xia Qianqian said, "Father, can you kill Qin Feiyong and that beast?" Pan Wang shook his head and said, "No, Qin Feiyong is highly valued by the prefecture. We can't kill him. Moreover, if he dies in Pan County, Yin County won't let it go. You can leave first." Xia Qianqian said resentfully, "Even if we don't kill them, we have to make them suffer." Pan Wang nodded and said, All right, I'll do as you say. Hurry up and leave. I still have things to deal with." Xia Qianqian smiled and ran out of the throne room with light steps and joy. Pan Wang returned to the dragon throne and waved to the 4 guards. "Go outside and guard."
Yes.
The 4 of them bowed and walked out of the hall to guard the 2 sides of the door. Pan Wang faced the empty void and said, "Qin Feiyong, I apologize to you for what happened before. However, it's not right for you to continue hiding like this. Why don't you come out? Let's have a proper talk." But there was no response. "If you continue to hide, I can't do anything to you. But I'll keep people here. This way, you won't be able to leave this hall. Without the image crystal, you can't ask Jiang Jingyi for help. At that time, if Jiang Jingyi comes to ask, I can lie and say that you've already left. So, don't think about wasting time with me. As long as you give me the potential pills formula, I'll not only give you the martial skill, but also treat you as an honored guest." Pan Wang said indifferently. Inside the castle, Wolf King said angrily, "Did you hear that? Not only did this old man not repent, he even blatantly threatened us. We can't let him go like this. We have to make him pay the price." Qin Feiyong said, "This kind of person really needs to be taught a deep lesson." Wolf King sneered. "And he said that we don't have the image crystal. He really thinks he's smart. Immediately send a message to Fatso and ask Jiang Jingyi to come." Qin Feiyong took out the image crystal, but then took it back and shook his head. Don't inform Jiang Jingyi for now. Wolf King was slightly stunned and asked, What do you mean? If we leave the palace now, it'll be too boring. The corners of Qin Feiyang's mouth rose as he pursed his lips into a meaningful smile. Outside, seeing that Qin Feiyang didn't appear, Pan Wang also lost his patience. He got up and walked out of the hall, said something to the 4 guards, and left in large strides. The 4 guards also turned and entered the hall, surrounding the place where the man and wolf disappeared. Swoosh! Qin Feiyang appeared out of thin air. The 4 guards suddenly quivered and pointed their spears at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, Don't be rash. If you accidentally hurt me, all of you will be finished. The 4 of them looked at each other, with a trace of fear in their eyes. Quickly go and inform Pan Wang, one of them said in a low voice. The person next to him immediately turned around and ran outside. Qin Feiyang opened his mouth and asked, Do you want the potential pill? The guard who ran out suddenly stopped and turned to look at Qin Feiyang with a surprised expression. The other 3 were the same. Their eyes were full of desire. Qin Feiyang smiled. If you want, go and prepare some firewood for me, dry ones. What do you want firewood for? One of them asked. Qin Feiyang sighed. It's too boring inside. I want to get some barbecue. Barbecue? The faces of the 4 people twitched nonstop. Chapter 218. The 4 guards were a little hesitant, not knowing if they should do so. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, I'll give the potential elixir to whoever finds me the firewood first. Wait a moment. The guards standing outside the door immediately turned around and disappeared without a trace. The 3 people surrounding Qin Feiyang had vexed looks on their faces. The potential elixir was a fatal temptation to anyone. However, they still didn't know Qin Feiyang. If it were the guards of the County Yin Palace, they would definitely not listen to his nonsense. After a while, the guard came back. In his hand, he was carrying a large bundle of dry firewood. He ran to Qin Feiyang and said with a flattering smile, Young Master Qin, is this okay? Of course. Qin Feiyang nodded and took the firewood from the guard's hand. He said with a smile, You're a good person. I'll take you to see my hidden treasure. Okay. The guard nodded and bowed. He was very excited. Qin Feiyang grabbed him and entered the castle. The guard scanned the castle in bewilderment, his face full of amazement. How is it? It's amazing, isn't it? Qin Feiyang smiled and threw the bundle of firewood on the ground. It's not amazing. It's too amazing. The guard was dumbfounded. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. He took out a rib and smashed it on the back of the guard's head. You! The guard looked at him in disbelief. The next moment, he fell to the ground and fainted. Little Qinzi, what do you want to do? Wolf King looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang didn't explain. He put away the rib, quickly took off the black armor on the guard and put it aside. Then he took out a piece of clothing from the Chinkuan bag and threw it on the bundle of firewood. Then, he took out another match and set the garment ablaze. After a while, the clothes and firewood were burning. Wolf King said in surprise, What do you mean? Are you going to destroy the corpse? Don't you think of anything good in your head all day long? Qin Feiyang gave him a knock on the head and appeared in the hall with the bundle of burning firewood. Brother Qin, what are you doing? Where's Theta Wang? The 3 guards looked at him in confusion. Theta Wang was the guard who was knocked out by Qin Feiyang. Theta Wang is eating barbecue inside. Qin Feiyang grinned and kicked the bundle of firewood with all his might. At once, sparks flew. The 3 guards were shocked and hurriedly. The bundle of firewood was scattered and shot. A piece of firewood flew a golden yellow curtain. The curtain was made of silk. When it came into contact with fire, it instantly burned. This, not good. Stop him. Let's go put out the fire. The faces of the 3 suddenly changed. 2 of them ran to put out the fire. The other person stretched out his hand at the same time and grabbed Qin Feiyang. Swish! Qin Feiyang disappeared into thin air and entered the castle. Without saying a word, he took out an illusory form pill and threw it into his mouth, turning into Theta Wang's appearance. He swiftly wore the black armor on his body. Then, he appeared in the hall again. The guard who captured him earlier was also putting out the fire, because the flammable objects in various places were already burning. Moreover, the fire was spreading rapidly. The air also became extremely hot. When one of the guards noticed Qin Feiyang, he anxiously shouted, "Theta Wang, what are you waiting for? Come and help." Another guard said angrily, "Why didn't you stop Qin Feiyang when you were there?" Qin Feiyang pretended to be overly frightened and said, "I didn't know that he was going to start a fire and burn the throne room. You guys keep an eye on him. I'll get someone to help." Finished. Qin Feiyang turned around and ran out of the hall in a panic. What's going on? Why is the throne room on fire? As soon as he ran out of the hall, more than a dozen guards ran towards him, their faces full of anxiety. Qin Feiyang said, "Let's talk later. Help put out the fire." The dozen or so guards quickly ran into the hall. This is just the beginning. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly, glanced ahead, and ran towards the back of the throne room. A group of maids and guards were running towards him with buckets of water. "Hurry up and put out the fire," Qin Feiyang shouted at them. The group of maids and guards did not say a single word as they hurriedly ran past him. Qin Feiyang suddenly reached out, grabbed the last maid and said, "Take me to the princess." The maid looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang took out the chang shui, pressed it against her back, and said coldly, "Don't make a sound, or I'll kill you." The maid wanted to scream, but when she heard this, she immediately shut up, her cheeks pale. Qin Feiyang said, "Don't worry. As long as you do as I say, I won't hurt you. Let's go." The maid lowered her head and walked along a small path towards the west of the palace. Qin Feiyang followed closely behind her. On the way, they also encountered many maids and guards who were running towards the throne room. But under his threat, the maid didn't dare to move at all. Hundreds of breaths passed. A dazzling palace entered Qin Feiyang's line of sight. On the left side of the palace, there was a garden. Hundreds of flowers bloomed, competing for beauty. One could smell an intoxicating fragrance from afar. The lush green little trees swayed in the wind like young girls. In the middle of the garden, there was a pavilion. Xia Qianqian was sitting in the pavilion. There were also a few maids waiting on her. At the entrance of the garden, there were two guards standing straight, looking straight ahead. They were obviously protecting Xia Qianqian's safety. "You know how to enjoy yourself." Qin Feiyang sneered secretly. Seeing that there was no one nearby, he knocked the maid unconscious and sent her into the castle. Then, he put away the chang shui and ran towards the garden in a panic. "Stop!" The two guards guarding the path reached out to stop him and frowned. "I remember that you are a guard of the throne room. What are you doing here?" Qin Feiyang said, "The throne room is on fire." "What?" The two guards were startled and raised their heads to look into the distance. Sure enough, they saw a thick smoke above the throne room. What's going on? The two of them were bewildered. Qin Feiyang was about to speak. At this moment, Xia Qianqian's voice sounded. "What are you doing there? Why are you so alarmed?" Qin Feiyang looked up at Xia Qianqian and said, "Princess." Qin Feiyang set fire to the throne room. "The commander asked me to tell you not to run around. He actually dares to burn the throne room." Xia Qianqian suddenly stood up and walked out of the pavilion angrily. She looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Where is he now?" Qin Feiyang said, "He's still hiding in that treasure." Setting fire to the throne room is a serious crime. Even if Jiang Zhengyi comes out this time, he won't be able to save him. Xia Qianqian's eyes flashed with killing intent as she walked towards the throne room. Qin Feiyang hurriedly blocked in front of her and shook his head. "Princess, you can't go. It's too dangerous." "Yes, princess, you should go back to your bedroom first. I'll go and take a look at the situation." The two guards and the maids also tried to persuade her. Xia Qianqian frowned and ordered, "If there's a situation, report it immediately." "Yes." The two guards respectfully replied and turned to run towards the throne room. Xia Qianqian looked at Qin Feiyang again and frowned. "What are you still standing there for?" Qin Feiyang said, "Princess, I've thought of a brilliant plan. I guarantee that I'll kill Qin Feiyang and vent my anger for you." Xia Qianqian was stunned and asked, "What brilliant plan?" Qin Feiyang glanced at the two guards and saw that they had already run far away. He used the shifting smoke steps and quickly knocked out the maids. Following closely, before Xia Qianqian could react, he took out the Chang Shui and pressed it against Xia Qianqian's back. "What are you doing?" Xia Qianqian was incomparably shocked and furious. "Princess, there are too many people around. It's a little inconvenient to talk." Qin Feiyong laughed softly. "Are you going to rebel?" Xia Qianqian shouted angrily. "Rebel?" Qin Feiyong sneered. With a slight force from his arm, the tip of the Chang Shui cut through Xian Qianqian's clothes and left a bloody mark on her pure white skin. Qin Feiyong said, "Princess, keep your voice down. If you startle me, I might accidentally kill you." Xia Qianqian's body and mind trembled as she asked, "What do you want to do?" Qin Feiyong said, "I'll have to trouble Princess to take me to the treasure vault." Xia Qianqian said gloomily, "You actually dare to have designs on the treasure vault? You've really eaten the guts of a leopard. Cut the crap. Hurry up. Otherwise, I'll tell you to go see the King of Hell right now." Qin Feiyong shouted in a low voice. Xia Qianqian's delicate body trembled as she walked along a winding path and said in a low voice, "If you're willing to let go now and take the initiative to apologize to this princess will consider sparing your life. Otherwise, even if you succeed, don't even think about leaving the palace today." Qin Feiyong said, "Princess, you don't have to worry about this." A moment later, the two of them arrived in front of a huge palace. This was King Pan's bedroom. There were also guards guarding the door, and there were more than a dozen of them. Qin Feiyong glanced at them, leaned close to Xia Qianqian's ear, and whispered, "Be honest, or don't blame this subordinate for being ruthless." The two of them walked over. The guards bowed and said, "Greetings, Princess." "Yes." Xia Qianqian nodded and asked, "Where's my father?" One of the guards said, "He just went to the throne room. If Princess has something urgent, this subordinate will go and report it." A trace of disappointment immediately crept up in Xia Qianqian's eyes. She shook her head and said, "There's nothing urgent. There's no need to specially call him. This princess will go in and wait for a while." After that, she walked towards the main hall. Qin Feiyong followed closely behind her. A guard suddenly noticed Xia Qianqian's abnormality and asked doubtfully, "Princess, why do you look a little strange? Are you still sweating?" "It's nothing. It's just that the weather is too hot," Xia Qianqian said expressionlessly. Seeing that Qin Feiyong was about to successfully enter the main hall, a guard on the left suddenly pointed at Qin Feiyong and shouted, "You're not allowed to go in." At the same time, Xia Qianqian threw herself forward and fell to the ground, shouting, "Kill him quickly!" The dozen or so guards were stunned. They all held their spears and charged towards Qin Feiyong. "Damn it!" Qin Feiyong's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly put away the Chang Shui. Chapter 219. At the same time as he put away Chang Shui, Qin Feiyong took a step forward, grabbed Xia Qianqian's arm, and pulled her up. Following closely, he grabbed Xia Qianqian's neck and shouted without turning his head, "Stop immediately, or don't blame me for being impolite." The dozen or so guards stopped in unison, their eyes flashing with a cold light. Xia Qianqian struggled, but she was only a 9-star martial master, and Qin Feiyong was already a 2-star martial ancestor realm. How could she break free? "Quickly report to the king," a guard in the front row said to a guard behind him. Qin Feiyong held Xia Qianqian hostage, turned to look at the guards and said, "Whoever dares to report, I will kill her right now." "How dare you?" More than a dozen guards stared at him sinisterly. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed with a cold light, and with a squeeze of his 5 fingers, Xia Qianqian's face instantly turned red, and she found it difficult to breathe. "Stop!" The guards' expressions changed drastically as they hurriedly shouted. Qin Feiyong loosened his grip, and Xia Qianqian immediately gasped for breath. But before she could catch her breath, Qin Feiyong grabbed her and retreated to the center of the hall. He said to the guards, "All of you, come in." The dozen or so guards looked at each other and walked into the hall one after another. "Close the door," Qin Feiyong said. A guard turned around and closed the door of the hall. "I know you. Your name is Theta Wang. I advise you to let the princess go immediately. Otherwise, you will die a horrible death today," the 3 guards said gloomily. You don't have to worry about that. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly, lowered his head and leaned close to Xia Qianqian's ear and sneered. This is your last chance. If you dare to play tricks again, I guarantee that I will break your neck on the spot. Tell me, where is the treasure vault? What? Theta Wong, are you borrowing courage from the heavens? The dozen or so guards were dumbstruck. Not only did he blackmail the princess, but he also wanted to loot the treasury. He was simply crazy. Xia Qianqian was deathly pale. She pointed at the chair in front of the main hall and said fearfully, the treasure vault is behind that wall. Qin Feiyang led her towards the chair while keeping an eye on the dozen or so bodyguards. Now, no more accidents could happen. Otherwise, he would really have died here today. Several breaths later, he came to the back of the chair and glanced at the wall. It seemed to be a seamless hole without any gaps. He frowned and said, there should be a mechanism. Quickly open it. Xia Qianqian shook her head and said, I don't know. Only Father knows. Looks like you're still dishonest. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. He squeezed hard with his big hand, and a low and weak cracking sound came from Xia Qianqian's neck. However, when this fell into the ears of Xia Qianqian and the dozen or so guards, it was like a bolt from the blue. Xia Qianqian nodded hurriedly. The guards also hurriedly ran forward and looked at Qin Feiyang nervously. Qin Feiyang's 5 fingers loosened slightly as he said coldly, my patience is about to be worn out by you. Hurry up. Xia Qianqian took a few breaths and pointed to the chair. Turn that bead and the wall will automatically open. Bead? Qin Feiyang looked over. The chair was made of gold, and its entire body was golden. And at the top of the center of the chair, there was a fist-sized bead inlaid. It was also made of gold. How extravagant! Qin Feiyang sneered, reached out to grab the bead, and twisted it forcefully. The wall at the side suddenly cracked and moved to both sides. What entered his line of sight was a treasure vault that was dozens of feet long. Inside, gold coins, piled up like a mountain. There were all kinds of rare treasures. The guards were dumbfounded on the spot. Although they had been here all year round, this was the first time they had seen the treasure vault, and the first time they had seen so many treasures. Because other than the princess, no one was allowed to enter King Pan's chamber. Qin Feiyang was also very shocked, but he did not lose his calm. He took out a few empty chinquin bags and threw them to the guards. He shouted, go and pack them up for me immediately. But the guards did not dare to move. Qin Feiyang sneered. Princess, why aren't you saying anything? Do you want to die? Do as he says. Xia Qianqian hurriedly said. A few guards hurriedly grabbed the chinquin bags and quickly ran into the treasure vault. In less than a few breaths, the entire treasure vault was swept clean. After putting all the chinquin bags into his bag, Qin Feiyang said coldly, all of you, go in. More than a dozen guards looked at each other and walked into the treasure vault helplessly. Qin Feiyang grabbed the golden bead and turned it forcefully, and the wall quickly closed. You have the thing. Let go of the princess. The guards were burning with anxiety. Don't worry, I will let her go. Princess, sorry for the offense. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he knocked on the back of Xia Qianqian's head. Xia Qianqian let out a miserable groan and fainted on the spot, slowly falling to the ground. At the same time, the wall was also completely closed. The reason why he left Xia Qianqian outside was because he was worried that there would be a mechanism in the treasure vault. And now, even if there was a mechanism inside, the guards wouldn't know about it, so they wouldn't be able to chase after him. He also had enough time to return to the throne room. He didn't stay any longer. He quickly ran to the back of the door and looked outside through the gap. Seeing that there was no one, he pushed the door open and ran in the direction of the throne room. On the way, he took another illusory form pill and changed his appearance. The throne room. At this moment, it was a mess, and the thick smoke was pungent. Hundreds of maids and guards were gathered around, all of them discussing in low voices. Qin Feiyang mixed in with the crowd and kept approaching the main hall. At the same time, he listened carefully to the discussions around him. Everyone was talking about him. It was nothing more than that he was extremely daring and had eaten the guts of a leopard to actually dare to burn the throne room. After getting closer, he saw Pan Wang standing in front of the door. his face extremely gloomy. Beside him stood a middle-aged burly man. He was 8 feet tall and had tiger eyes. He wore a set of golden armor and had an extraordinary aura. The 3 guards who were ordered to guard the throne room were standing at the side with their heads lowered, recounting the entire incident. After listening, the golden-armored man shouted, "Can you believe Qin Feiyang's words? The potential pill is so precious. Why would he give it to you? What a bunch of idiots. Where's Theta Wong?" "Grand Commander, we don't know either. At that time, he said he was going to find someone to help put out the fire. Then we never saw him again," the 3 guards said, their faces full of fear. The golden-armored man looked at Pan Wang and said, "It seems that this Theta Wong knew that he would be beheaded and escaped in advance." Pan Wang said, "No matter what, we have to find him." "Yes." The golden-armored man cupped his hands and said. Pan Wang glanced at the messy throne room and shouted, "Qin Feiyang, you've gone too far this time. Come out and plead guilty, otherwise you can forget about leaving this place for the rest of your life." He thought that Qin Feiyang was still inside. The golden-armored man followed and said, "Qin Feiyang, the throne room is the most sacred place in the palace. By burning this place, you're looking down on our royal family. Even if Jiang Zhengyi comes, you won't be able to escape." Qin Feiyang, who was mixed in the crowd, had a hint of ridicule in his eyes. Seeing that Qin Feiyang didn't come out for a long time, Pan Wang clenched his hands and sneered, "Fine, if you want to waste time, this king will waste time with you. Grand Commander, you stay here personally." "Yes." The golden-armored man bowed and replied. Pan Wang glanced at the main hall, then soared into the air and flew towards the direction of the bedroom. "Farewell, Your Majesty." Everyone present bowed one after another. Qin Feiyang, of course, also had to put on an act. The golden-armored man withdrew his gaze and said expressionlessly, "The guards stay here first. The rest of you go do what you need to do." A maid asked, "Grand Commander, aren't you going to clean the throne room?" The golden-armored man said, "Not for the time being." Heard. Those maids turned and left. There were about 200 to 300 guards left behind. The golden-armored man glanced at everyone and shouted, "Leave a dozen people. The rest of you go look for Theta Wong. You must find him for this commander." Immediately, one by one, the guards quickly spread out and started a carpet search. "Bastard!" At this moment, a furious roar exploded somewhere in the palace like a thunderclap from the 9th heaven. The sound lingered, echoing above the palace for a long time. "What's going on?" Everyone in the palace was alarmed. Everyone looked at Pan Wang's bedroom, their faces full of surprise. "You guys watch carefully." The golden-armored man ordered Qin Feiyang and the others, then soared into the sky, turned into a stream of light, and flew towards Pan Wang's bedroom. What the hell happened? To make the king so angry? The guards around Qin Feiyang all ran to an open area on the side and looked in the direction of King Pan's sleeping quarters. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, used the smoke-gathering steps, ran into the main hall, and then went to the castle. That was close. As soon as he entered the castle, he sat on the ground with a face full of fear. "Kid, you're really bold. You even dared to rob the royal treasury. Do you know how much Brother Wolf sweated for you inside?" Wolf King stared at him fiercely. Qin Feiyang let out a long breath and said with a smile, "Didn't I succeed?" Wolf King said worriedly, "It's good that you succeeded, but how are you going to get away?" Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile, "I've always been using Theta Wong's face. If Pan Wang wants to settle the score, he will only look for him. What am I afraid of?" After that, he looked at Theta Wong lying on the ground. He found that he was already dead. Next to Theta Wong, there was a woman lying. It was the maid who took him to find Xia Qianqian, but she was also dead. It was Brother Wolf who killed them. If they don't get rid of them, they will bring you a lot of trouble, especially Theta Wong. When he leaks out that you knocked him out, it will definitely arouse Pan Wang's suspicion." Wolf King said. Qin Feiyang nodded. In the bedroom, Pan Wang looked at the empty treasury, and his face was almost distorted. The golden-armored man was also beside him, his face full of disbelief. This Theta Wong dared to rob the treasury? That's how it happened. "Your Majesty, we were incompetent and didn't guard the treasury well." We are willing to accept the punishment. After saying the whole story, the dozen guards knelt on the ground, lowered their heads, and took the initiative to beg for forgiveness. Chapter 220. You do deserve to die. King Pan spoke word by word, his tone extremely low. His entire body, it was filled with a terrifying killing intent. In an instant, the guards present felt as if they had fallen into a bottomless abyss, and their entire bodies were cold. Even though they were already prepared to die, when the god of death truly descended, they couldn't help but panic. Even the golden-armored man who had nothing to do with it couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb. He glanced at the dozen or so people whose faces were ashen and cupped his hands. Although they were in the wrong, it was also because they wanted to protect the princess. Please forgive them, Your Majesty. King Pan clenched his fists and shouted, even if you have to turn Pan Wang's city upside down, you have to dig out Theta Wang for me. Yes. The golden-armored man bowed and replied. He looked at the guards and said, What are you waiting for? Hurry up and follow me to find him. Yes, yes, yes. The guards hurriedly stood up as if they had been pardoned. They followed behind the commander and ran out of the bedroom as if they were running for their lives. Does Theta Wang have such guts? King Pan frowned and muttered to himself. He took out a healing pill and gave it to Xia Qianqian to consume. Not long after, Xia Qianqian woke up. At that moment, she shuddered and stood up abruptly. She hurriedly said, Father, Theta Wang has looted everything. Quickly seal off Pan Wang's city. Don't let him escape. I understand. King Pan squeezed out a forced smile. Then did you catch him? Xia Qianqian hurriedly asked. No. King Pan shook his head and smiled. The commander is looking for him. Don't worry, he won't be able to escape if he goes against our royal family. We must find him. I want to kill him with 1,000 cuts. Xia Qianqian said resentfully. King Pan frowned and looked at Xia Qianqian seriously. Let me ask you a question. Are you sure that person is Theta Wang? I'm sure. Xia Qianqian nodded. Strange. A small guard like him has the guts to loot the treasury? King Pan frowned. Father, what do you mean? He might be someone else's disguise, or someone is ordering him from behind. Xia Qianqian. If that was the case, then the person behind this was definitely not simple. Qin Feiyang burned down the throne room. Then, the treasury was ransacked by Theta Wang. Most importantly, before this, Theta Wang went to Qin Feiyang's hidden treasure. Could this be a coincidence? If it's a coincidence, it's too much of a coincidence. Pan Wang muttered to himself. Father suspects that Qin Feiyang did it? Xia Qianqian's eyes widened in disbelief. Qin Feiyang was indeed very arrogant, but he wouldn't dare to rob the royal family's treasury, would he? Have a good rest. Father will go to the throne room again. If Qin Feiyang is still in the throne room, then it shouldn't be him. If Tung Ruo is not here, then it must be him. Pan Wang stood up and turned into a stream of light. In a few blinks of an eye, he landed in front of the door of the throne room. Greetings, my king. The guards outside the hall bowed and saluted. Pan Wang asked, during this period, did anyone enter the throne room? No. Everyone shook their heads. Pan Wang nodded, walked to the door, and said in a deep voice, Qin Feiyang, come out quickly. This king has something to tell you. But there was still no response. Could it really be him? Pan Wang's eyes turned cold. However, just as this thought appeared in his mind, Qin Feiyang appeared out of thin air. You're here? Pan Wang was stunned. I still have to hurry to cultivate. If you have something to say it quickly. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. Pan Wang raised his eyebrows and said unhappily, in any case, this king is the county king of Pan County. Can't you show some respect? Qin Feiyang said indifferently, didn't I respect you very much when I came? It's you who took advantage of your seniority and damaged your image. Who is to blame? Pan Wang was quite annoyed and said, not long ago, Theta Wang ransacked the treasury. This king suspects that he was ordered by you. Please cooperate with this king's investigation. What? He ransacked the treasury? Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. The guards outside also couldn't believe it. Pan Wang had been paying attention to Qin Feiyang's expression changes. Seeing Qin Feiyang's reaction now, it was obvious that he just knew about it. Could it be that he was overthinking? No. Before the truth came out, this person was still a suspect. Just as he was about to speak, Qin Feiyang suddenly laughed. Haha, amazing. I didn't expect that guy to have such great ability. Senior Pan Wang, is this karma? Qin Feiyang looked at him jokingly. Pan Wang said in a deep voice, don't be sarcastic. This king seriously suspects that this matter has something to do with you. It has something to do with me? Qin Feiyang was stunned and said angrily, Pan Wang, you need to have evidence to say this. Otherwise, I can sue you for twisting the facts and slandering me. You just burned the throne room, and Theta Wang ransacked the treasury. It doesn't seem like a coincidence, right? Do you dare to let this king check the treasure you are hiding in? Pan Wang said, just based on this, you suspect me? Ridiculous. If you have to check, I don't mind. But the condition is that if you don't find anything, you have to give me that perfect martial skill for free. Qin Feiyang said confidently. Then, he frowned again. Wait, let me ask you something first. Was that martial skill taken away by Theta Wang? Pan Wang didn't answer. He just stared at Qin Feiyang without blinking. Was it really unrelated to this child? Or was he just putting on an act? That martial skill has always been with this king. If the results prove that it has nothing to do with you, this king can give it to you. Pan Wang finally decided to check it out. He would rather kill 1,000 by mistake than let go of one. Let me say this first. You are not allowed to touch the things inside. You can only look. Qin Feiyang walked up, waved his hand, and brought Pan Wang to the castle. Inside the castle, it was clean and tidy. The bodies of Theta Wang were also gone. Wolf King was lying lazily at the side, with a pile of top-grade chi-gathering pills in front of it. While it was refining the pills, it looked at Pan Wang with disdain. Pan Wang entered the castle for the first time. Like the others, he looked around curiously, feeling that it was too magical. Can you hurry up? Qin Feiyang frowned. If you don't do anything wrong, you won't be afraid of ghosts knocking on the door. What are you afraid of? Pan Wang glanced at him and continued to look around. Qin Feiyang said, Nonsense. Apart from the people closest to me, you are the first outsider to come in. Of course, I am on guard against you. Then shouldn't this king feel honored? Pan Wang sneered. His eyes locked on the altar and was about to walk over. Wait, just stay here. I'll go get it for you. Qin Feiyang hurriedly stopped him. What? Are you afraid? Pan Wang looked at him coldly. I am afraid that you will be tempted by the wealth. Qin Feiyang sneered. He strode to the altar and opened the 2 jade boxes. 24 top-grade scarlet fire-colored glass pills and 10 top-grade potential pills appeared in front of Pan Wang's eyes. Qin Feiyang sneered. These scarlet fire-colored glass pills and potential pills are priceless. Do you think I should be on guard against you? Pan Wang's eyes lit up. He naturally knew about the scarlet fire-colored glass pills. But this was the first time he saw the potential pill. He was engrossed. He couldn't wait to pounce on it and snatch it away. Qin Feiyang closed the jade box and said lightly, What else do you want to check? Pan Wang took a deep breath, pointed to the iron box with the 6-word divine formula, and said in a deep voice, Open it and let me see. It's not impossible to check this iron box. But in advance, after checking, you have to give me 10 sets of scarlet fire-colored glass pills medicinal materials. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Pan Wang's face was gloomy, and he nodded and said, Okay, then let's make a gentleman's agreement, lest you go back on your word. Qin Feiyang took out a pen and paper and wrote quickly. After writing, he handed it to Pan Wang and said with a smile, Press your fingerprint. Pan Wang glanced at the agreement and looked at Qin Feiyang. This time, he hesitated. Qin Feiyang's performance was too calm. There wasn't the slightest bit of cowardice on him. However, he also suspected that Qin Feiyang was pretending to be calm in order to make him give up on the inspection. After a moment of hesitation, he made up his mind, bit his finger, and pressed a bloody fingerprint on the agreement. Haha, Qin Feiyang laughed, put away the agreement, and then cut his fingertip, and a drop of blood fell on the iron box. Clang! The iron box suddenly opened. Only this can open it? Pan Wang was extremely surprised. Six-word divine formula? When he saw the iron book in the iron box, his eyes were full of surprise. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, quickly closed the iron box and sneered, "How is it? Did you find what you want?" Pan Wang's face darkened. In the iron box, there was nothing except for the six-word divine formula. It seemed that it really had nothing to do with this boy. "You are even more stupid than Jia He and the others." When someone looted the medicinal field of the Danwang Hall, they also suspected that it was me and wanted to come here to check, but in the end, they wisely chose not to come. However, I have to thank you for letting me easily earn 10 sets of scarlet fire-colored glass pills medicinal materials. Qin Feiyong laughed. Pan Wang clenched his hands tightly, making cracking sounds. Today, he had simply lost the wife and the soldiers. Suddenly, he noticed the alchemy scripture. His eyes were full of surprise. Just by looking at the two words alchemy scripture, he could guess that it must be related to medicinal pills. Could it be the pill formula of the potential pill was in that alchemy scripture? Thinking of this, his heart began to thump loudly. Noticing the change in Pan Wang, Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows without leaving a trace. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying pressure rushed out from Pan Wang's body, enveloping Qin Feiyong. At the same time, he took a step forward, grabbing the alchemy scripture with one hand and the jade box with the potential pill with the other. Qin Feiyong was immediately imprisoned, unable to move his body. Pan Wang was about to grab the alchemy scripture and the jade box. Roar! Qin Feiyong bared his teeth and let out a beast-like roar. He actually broke the imprisonment and grabbed Pan Wang's arm. With a thought, he instantly appeared in the throne room. "Pan Wang, you were playing with fire." Following closely, Qin Feiyong said gloomily and immediately went to the castle. "What? You can actually break free from the imprisonment of this king's pressure?" Chapter 221. Hearing the exclamations from outside, Qin Feiyong and Wolf King were both full of disdain. Thinking back to when they opened the gate of potential, Yin Nanshan released all of his pressure and they could move with their amazing willpower. Although Pan Wang and Yin Nanshan's strength were about the same, they released their pressure in a hurry. It was probably less than half of the pressure, so it was naturally unable to completely imprison them. Qin Feiyong, hand over the pill scripture and potential pill if you know what's good for you. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving this place. At this time, Pan Wang's voice came again, with an undisguised threat. Qin Feiyong's actions had already made him extremely sure that the pill scripture was definitely related to the potential pill. Compared to the treasure vault, the pill scripture and the potential pill were obviously more important. Therefore, he had to get his hands on them. This old man is really too shameless. Wolf King was filled with anger. Swish! Qin Feiyong appeared in the throne room again, looked at Pan Wang and said indifferently, "You're so confident that you can keep me here? What do you think?" Pan Wang sneered. "I've never seen such a stupid person like you." Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled contemptuously. Without any nonsense, he entered the castle and directly took out the image crystal. The throne room was also burned. The treasure vault was also looted. Naturally, there was no need to stay. Very soon, Lu Hong's shadow appeared. Lu Hong smiled. "Did you get the martial skill?" Qin Feiyong said, "Immediately go and tell Jiang Jingyi that Pan Wang wants to snatch the potential pill and trapped me and Wolf King in the throne room of the palace." Damn it! Lu Hong was stunned, turned off the image crystal, and immediately went to find Jiang Jingyi. In less than 10 breaths, a white figure barged into the palace and landed in the air above the throne room. It was Jiang Jingyi. He looked at the throne room below and his face twitched. These two little bastards really made people restless for a moment. However, it was quite satisfying. Why did he come here? King Pan, who was standing in the throne room, also noticed Jiang Jingyi's presence and frowned. Jiang Jingyi landed in front of the throne room, looked at King Pan inside and said angrily, "Old dog Xia, what is the meaning of this? Are you trying to provoke the pavilion by imprisoning someone from the county of Yin?" Before he finished speaking, Qin Feiyong appeared out of thin air. Then, he walked past Pan Wang and stood beside Jiang Jingyi. Jiang Jingyi asked, "Did he do anything to you?" Qin Feiyang said. If I hadn't been careful, the potential pill would have been snatched away by him. I really didn't expect that the dignified county king of Pan County would do such a despicable thing. Zhang Jingyi's face darkened, and he shouted, Old dog Xia, how do you explain this? King Pan said gloomily. He set fire to the throne room. So why can't I make him compensate with potential pills? If you hadn't trapped me here, would I have burned down this lousy place? I'm just returning an eye for an eye. You still can't figure out how I informed Pavilion Master Jiang, right? There's really something wrong with your IQ. I'm a supreme alchemist. How can I not be able to afford the image crystal? Qin Feiyang pursed his lips with a hint of sarcasm. Heard about it. King Pan fell into deep regret, unable to extricate himself. The image crystal was indeed expensive. Even a battle king would not be willing to spend such a high price, let alone a young man. However, was this kid an ordinary person? With his wealth, what could he not have? This monster could no longer be looked at with ordinary eyes. To think that a dignified county king like him would make such a low-level mistake. Smart for a lifetime, but stupid for a moment. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said calmly, All right, I'm a magnanimous person. I won't argue with you. Quickly fulfill your promise. Give me the martial technique and herbs, and I'll let bygones be bygones. Zhang Jingyi rolled his eyes. A brat dared to say that he was a magnanimous person in front of a county king? Was he going to turn the world upside down? There was no suspense. King Pan's lungs were about to explode, and smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. What? You're not going to admit it? Then I can only paste this agreement on the city gate, and let the entire King Pan city know what kind of person you are. Qin Feiyang said calmly. Since they had already fallen out, he naturally would not be merciful. I'll give it to you. King Pan gritted his teeth and said. He took out a bamboo scroll from his chinkuan bag and threw it at Qin Feiyang. That bamboo scroll was originally very ordinary. However, at this moment, it was like a sharp arrow. If Qin Feiyang were to catch it, he would probably be killed on the spot by the bamboo scroll. Humph. Zhang Jingyi took a step in front of Qin Feiyang and stretched out his hand, easily grabbing the bamboo scroll in his hand. He looked at the bamboo scroll with surprise in his eyes. He raised his head and looked at King Pan with a cold light in his eyes. Aren't you a little too much? If you really want to fight, I'll accompany you to the end. After saying that, a shocking battle intent rose from Zhang Jingyi's body. Zhang Jingyi, this is an important place in the palace. It's not a place where you can behave atrociously. Accompanied by an angry shout, the brawny man in golden armor broke through the air. Zhang Jingyi did not even look at him and said indifferently, Little cat and dog, scram to the side for me. Even if I'm not as strong as you, I won't allow you to be so presumptuous. The golden-armored man roared. His chi soared to the 9 heavens. His battle chi surged toward Zhang Jingyi like a tidal wave. However, Zhang Jingyi just waved his hand, and the battle chi dissipated. Seeing that the brawny man in golden armor still did not stop, King Pan frowned and said loudly, Commander, stop. Whoosh. The commander landed beside King Pan like a divine rainbow and looked at Zhang Jingyi and Qin Feiyang gloomily. Qin Feiyang directly ignored him and looked at King Pan. Where are the medicinal herbs? King Pan said, Tomorrow morning, I will send someone to deliver them to you. Qin Feiyang suddenly said, That's right, the treasury was robbed by Theta Wang, and you can't take out so many medicinal herbs now. Since that's the case, I can only wait until tomorrow to give you the agreement. King Pan suppressed the anger in his heart and said, Let me see your Chinkuan bag. All right. Qin Feiyang took out the changshui and threw it over. King Pan was stunned when he saw it. Inside the Chinkuan bag, other than some daily necessities and a few million gold coins, there were only some ordinary top-grade pills. A top-grade alchemy room only had this much wealth? Was he dreaming? Impossible. He must be hiding a Chinkuan bag on him. King Pan muttered to himself as he returned the Chinkuan bag to Qin Feiyang and asked, Do you dare to let me search you? Qin Feiyang shrugged and said with a faint smile, Why not? But this time, I need 20 sets of medicinal herbs for the red fire-colored glass pill. Why don't you rob me? King Pan was furious. This little bastard was simply a bandit. Then do you want to search me or not? Qin Feiyong looked at him provocatively. King Pan looked up and down at Qin Feiyong, hesitating. Now, he had completely lost his judgment and didn't know what to do. If you search me, maybe you can find something? Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Search? Or not? Was he faking it or not? King Pan's mind was in a mess. Like a headless fly, he was at a loss. If you don't search me, I'm leaving, Qin Feiyong said again, pushing King Pan into the abyss of confusion step by step. Search. Pan Wang suddenly roared and shouted, Chief Commander, go and check if he has any other Chinko bags. Qin Feiyong raised his arms high. Seeing this, King Pan knew that he had lost the bet again. He was tricked by this little bastard. The commander searched Qin Feiyong's body and turned to shake his head at King Pan. Haha, Qin Feiyong laughed loudly and said, there are 30 sets of medicinal herbs for the red fire-colored glass pill. Senior King Pan, remember to send someone to deliver them tomorrow morning. King Pan roared in exasperation. Get out of the palace immediately and don't let me see you again. Qin Feiyong pursed his lips and smiled, nodding at Jiang Zhengyi. Jiang Zhengyi waved his hand and took Qin Feiyong to the sky. Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the brawny man in golden armor. He withdrew his gaze and looked at King Yin. Your Majesty, what is going on? I'm too stupid and fell into his trap. Immediately pass down the order to monitor him day and night. If there are any abnormalities, immediately report to me. King Pan clenched his hands, his eyes cold. Yes. The brawny man nodded. King Pan asked, have you found Theta Wong? The brawny man said, no. I have searched the entire palace and found no trace of him. However, I have ordered people to search the city and also ordered the city gates to be sealed. As long as he is still in King Pan City, he can't run away. Be quick, King Pan urged. Understood. Nodding, the brawny man turned and quickly left. Qin Feiyong, I'll let you be arrogant for a while, but when the competition starts, I will make sure you die without a whole corpse. King Pan raised his head and looked at the direction Qin Feiyong disappeared, his eyes emitting a shocking cold light. Back to the flower brothel. Sitting in the tea room, Jiang Zhengyi looked at the smiling Qin Feiyong and frowned. You just said that the royal family's treasury was robbed. What happened? When Lu Hong and Fatso heard this, their eyes flashed. Qin Feiyong shook his head. I don't know the details, but I heard from King Pan that it was a guard called Theta Wong who robbed it. A guard dared to rob the treasury? Are you joking? Jiang Zhengyi looked at Qin Feiyong with a strange expression. Qin Feiyong smiled. It can only mean that this Theta Wong is a very smart person. Even I have to admit defeat. Jiang Zhengyi looked at him deeply. He also couldn't see through Qin Feiyong. Too calm. Too calm. This kind of mentality shouldn't appear in a 16-year-old boy. He even couldn't help but wonder if this boy in front of him was an old antique who had lived for hundreds of years and disguised himself. You're on your own. After saying these words meaningfully, Jiang Zhengyi got up and left the room. Qin Feiyong gave Fatso a look. Fatso understood and immediately went to close the door. Lu Hong asked, did you do it? Qin Feiyong didn't answer and took the two directly to the castle. Fatso said excitedly, Boss, Brother Wolf, tell me, how did you do it? Qin Feiyong gave a detailed account of the situation when they arrived. Fatty and Lu Hong shuddered with fear when they heard this. Chapter 222. After listening, Lu Hong wiped off the sweat on her forehead and said, it's too risky. Don't do this in the future. If it was anyone else, they would have already fled the moment Xia Qianqian broke free from their control. But not only did Qin Feiyong not escape, he even blatantly continued to loot the treasury. Should he say that he was extremely daring, or should he say that he was possessed? Qin Feiyong nodded. To be honest, he also felt that it was too risky this time. Any mistake could result in him being smashed into pieces. Can you get to the point? Boss, where did you hide those Cosmos bags and the corpses of Wan San and the others? Fatso asked. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, it's far away, but it's right in front of you. Fatso and Suli were stunned and looked around. In the entire castle, other than the jade box and iron box on the altar, there was only Wolf King in them. There was no Cosmos bag at all. Idiot, it's here. Wolf King looked at the two of them with disdain, stretched out its claws, and pointed at the pile of pills in front of it. Fatso walked forward suspiciously and reached out to open the pills. Immediately, a few Cosmos bags entered his line of sight. Fatso and Lu Hong were extremely shocked. It was actually placed here? The safest place is undoubtedly the most dangerous place. Pan Wang searched my entire body, including every corner of the castle, but he didn't check the pile of pills. He would never have thought that what he was looking for was right in front of him. Qin Feiyong said with a faint smile. Fatso said in a daze, "Who came up with this rotten idea?" Wolf King didn't say anything and directly bit his butt, causing him to cry out in pain. Obviously, it came up with it. Lu Hong covered her mouth and laughed gloatingly. What could be better than this idea? But it was called a rotten idea by Fatso. Wasn't this looking for trouble? All right, you guys tidy up. Also, find a chance to bury that body. Qin Feiyong said a few words and then appeared in the room with Wolf King. Wolf King urged, "Quick, quick, quick. Give that martial skill to Brother Wolf." Qin Feiyong took out the jade slip from his bosom and looked at it carefully. Then, a trace of surprise appeared in his eyes. "Isn't it awesome?" Wolf King asked excitedly. "It is indeed not bad. It is a support-type martial skill called the 7 Killing Steps." Qin Feiyong nodded. Support-type martial skill? Wolf King was slightly taken aback. His ears drooped and his face was filled with displeasure. Qin Feiyong laughed. "Auxiliary martial skills are rarer than slaughter martial skills. You should be happy." Wolf King said disdainfully, "What's the use of that? What Brother Wolf wants is a killing martial technique. That way, Brother Wolf will appear more wolfish. If you don't want it, I'll sell it." Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at it. Other people dreamed of having a support-type martial skill. But this sentence was given to it, and it wasn't willing? That's not right. Suddenly, his body trembled as he looked at the bamboo slip again. What's wrong? Wolf King looked at him in bewilderment. Qin Feiyong ignored it and lowered his head to read it again and again. Suddenly, his pupils constricted as he raised his head to look at Wolf King and said excitedly, "White-eyed Wolf, you've picked up a huge bargain." "What do you mean?" Wolf King was at a loss. Qin Feiyong said, 7 Killing Steps is not just a support-type martial skill. Wolf King was startled and said angrily, "Can you explain it clearly in one go?" This is a martial skill that combines killing and support. Normally speaking, martial skills are only single. For example, Luo Yin steps, returning to origin steps, and Gale steps can only increase speed. Wind Thunder Palm, Ice Crystal Finger, Binding Tiger Hand, Berserk Lion Roar, and so on can only increase strength. But this 7 Killing Steps, not only can it increase speed, but it can also increase strength. Qin Feiyong finished speaking in one breath, the joy on his face undisguised. After listening to Qin Feiyong's explanation, Wolf King was a little stunned at first, but then he was overjoyed. He didn't expect to get such a treasure. Strange, why don't you have such a martial skill? Wolf King was puzzled. I've seen all the martial skills in the Imperial Palace's martial skill treasury, but there's no such martial skill. Maybe it's because there's a certain difference between us humans and you berserk beasts. Now tell me, do you still want it? Qin Feiyong laughed. Nonsense. Wolf King took the jade slip away. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed, saying, "If you want to master the 7 Killing Steps as soon as possible, you need actual combat. After Fatso and the rest finish counting, we'll go to the castle to cultivate in seclusion." And Wolf King nodded and said with a sinister smile, "Let's make it clear first, Brother Wolf won't be merciful at that time. Then let's give it a try." Qin Feiyong sneered. Until evening, Fatso and Lu Hong counted the treasures. The result made them so happy that they couldn't close their mouths. There were more than 20 billion gold coins. This terrifying number was simply maddening. There were countless medicinal herbs and elixirs. Even the extremely precious battle chi pill had more than 100,000 of them. As for the weapons, Fatso and Lu Hong didn't count them. Now we don't have to worry about gold coins anymore. Fatso laughed the happiest. Such a large amount of wealth was enough for them to squander for decades. Keep a low profile. Lu Hong glared at him fiercely, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, should we sell all the weapons and elixirs? There's no use keeping them anyway. Fatso praised, good idea. If we sell them, we'll definitely earn another 1 or 2 billion. Qin Feiyang could refine supreme-grade elixirs. These ordinary elixirs were naturally nothing to them. As for the weapons, Qin Feiyang had Chang Shui and 5 rib bones, so he didn't need them at all. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and shook his head. It's too big of a target. If we sell it, we'll definitely attract the attention of King Pan. Let's wait until we return to the county of Yin. Fatso and Lu Hong nodded. It made sense. Fatso, tidy up and see how many sets of potential elixir herbs you can gather. Also, when King Pan sends the herbs over, you have to look carefully. Don't let him pass you off as genuine. During this period, don't go out either. Just stay here and cultivate. After Qin Feiyang finished explaining everything, he took out thousands of supreme-grade qi-gathering elixirs and handed them to Fatso and Lu Hong. Then, he brought Wolf King into the castle and began to cultivate in seclusion. At the same time, Ling Yunfei and the others also didn't go out all day. But Jiahe, every now and then, he would go out, and no one knew what he was doing. Jiang Jingyi didn't ask either. The news of the royal palace's treasury being looted spread like wildfire throughout the royal Pan City. The commander of the royal family led a group of palace guards and searched for Theta Wang day and night, almost going door to door. And every guard had a heaven's eye stone on them. Logically speaking, in the face of such a comprehensive search, Theta Wang should have been caught long ago. But since the day of the incident, Theta Wang seemed to have disappeared from the face of the earth, and there was no trace of him at all. Time flew by. The night before the friendly competition. Late at night, King Pan's bedroom. Still haven't found him? King Pan sat on the golden throne, looking down at the brawny man in golden armor and asked gloomily, your subordinate is incompetent. The brawny man in golden armor bowed. King Pan shook his head and said, I can't blame you for this. I have a feeling that this has a lot to do with Qin Feiyang. Has he been acting strangely recently? The brawny man in golden armor said, after returning that day, he hasn't appeared again. The 2 people beside him have also been cultivating in their rooms. None of these little bastards are easy to deal with. Let's put this aside for now and focus on preparing for tomorrow's competition. I want the county of Yin to suffer a crushing defeat, but the city gates must be strictly guarded. King Pan ordered. Understood. The brawny man in golden armor nodded. King Pan took out a jade box and threw it to the brawny man in golden armor, saying, let them take it before dawn. The brawny man in golden armor opened the jade box and took a look. There were a dozen ordinary red fire-colored glass pills inside. He nodded, grabbed the jade box, and turned to leave. Qin Feiyang, tomorrow will be the day you die. King Pan sneered. Early the next morning, Ling Yunfei and the others came out of seclusion and opened the door. They were all hale and hearty and full of fighting spirit. Jiang Jingyi, Jiahe, and ancestral patriarch Lin were already waiting in the hall. After everyone went downstairs, Jiahe frowned and said, why didn't Qin Feiyang come down? Ling Yunfei, go see if he overslept. Ling Yunfei glanced at him indifferently. He turned around and went upstairs. When he arrived at Qin Feiyang's door, he gently knocked on the door. The door opened and Lu Hong came into his sight. Ling Yunfei smiled and said, I haven't seen you for a few days. You look radiant and your strength has improved a lot, right? I'm still an 8-star martial master. Don't make fun of me. Lu Hong smiled helplessly. Don't worry. When you break through to 9-star martial master and open the door of potential, your speed will naturally catch up. Where's Qin Feiyang? Ling Yunfei asked. They're still fighting. Lu Hong said. What are they fighting for? Ling Yunfei walked into the room, feeling confused. Then, he shouted into the void. That old fogey Jiahe is urging you. Quickly come out. After a while, Qin Feiyang and Wolf King finally appeared. However, when they saw their appearance, Ling Yunfei, Lu Hong, and Fatso were all stunned. Qin Feiyang's nose was bruised and his eyes were swollen. Not only were his clothes torn, but there were also many scratches on his skin. He was dripping with blood and looked very miserable. Wolf King was not much better. Ling Yunfei asked in astonishment, "What's going on?" "It's all because of this bastard." Qin Feiyang glared at Wolf King. On the same day, after they entered the castle, they started fighting. They didn't hold back. They were even playing with their lives. In the beginning, Qin Feiyang completely suppressed Wolf King with the help of the perfect martial skill. Wolf King suffered a lot, but not long ago. The Wolf King had finally practiced the 7 kill steps to the point of perfection, and his strength had increased by several times. Qin Feiyang wanted to say that his goal had been achieved, and there was no need to continue fighting. But how could Wolf King, who had suffered a lot, be willing to do so? If he didn't get back his face, how could he survive in the future? Thus, without any explanation, he started fighting with Qin Feiyang again. Wolf King's strength was equivalent to a 3-star martial grandmaster. After more than 10 days of fierce fighting and refining qi gathering pills when he had time, Qin Feiyang also broke through to 3-star martial grandmaster yesterday. They both had perfect martial skills, and their strength was about the same. However, Qin Feiyang had mastered hundreds of perfect martial skills, and it was actually very easy for him to win against Wolf King. But the key was that Wolf King was too despicable and used all kinds of dirty tricks. Although Qin Feiyang was very angry, he couldn't really kill him, right? Chapter 223. After listening to the whole process, Ling Yunfei and the other two looked at each other and smiled bitterly. This man and Wolf were really a pair of enemies. Qin Feiyang stared at Wolf King and took a supreme grade healing elixir. He looked at Ling Yunfei and asked, "Have you broken through?" "Yes." Ling Yunfei nodded and said, "I'm a 2-star martial grandmaster now. What a bunch of freaks." Fatso murmured. Qin Feiyang frowned. There was a faint trace of worry in his eyes. He looked at Fatso and said, "Did Lord Pan send the 30 sets of herbs?" "Yes." Currently, Fat Lord has 56 sets of herbs for the red fire glaze elixir. He also has 3 sets of potential elixir. Including the ones Lu Hong brought back, there are 5 sets in total. Fatso took out a Cosmos sack and threw it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang was shocked after checking it. Did Pan County have so many more herbs than Yin County? When he was in Yin County, he searched all the cities, including the super forces, but he couldn't even find 10 sets of herbs for the potential elixir. But in Pan County, the Treasure Pavilion and the royal family had found 14 sets of herbs. It was really shocking. It was also reflected from the side. Pan County was rich in resources and talents. It was a level higher than Yin County. This was also the problem he was worried about. With such rich resources, how powerful were the people competing with them? It may be a tough battle. Qin Feiyang murmured and asked, "Did they bury the bodies?" "No." Lu Hong shook her head and said, "The guards at the city gate have heaven's eye stones. Besides, we are also being watched, so we don't dare to leave the flower brothel." "Watch?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, "Is the royal family watching us?" Lu Hong nodded. "It seems that they are still suspicious of me." Qin Feiyang's eyes dimmed. "Ling Yunfei, what are you doing? Why haven't you come down yet?" Jia He began to urge him again. "In a hurry to reincarnate?" Ling Yunfei roared. This person was so fucking annoying. Qin Feiyang escorted Fatso and the other two into the castle. After changing into clean clothes, he walked outside. "What were you talking about? Why is King Pan monitoring you and even giving you herbs? What about the corpses?" Ling Yunfei chased after him and threw out a series of questions. He felt that he had missed out on a lot of exciting things. "I'll tell you about it when I have time." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. When they arrived at the lobby and saw the appearance of Qin Feiyang and Wolf King, they couldn't help but be stunned. "Did you see that? It's all your fault." Qin Feiyang glared at Wolf King and said with a smile, "I'm really sorry for making you wait. What have you guys been up to these past few days? Why are you all beaten up like this?" Zhao Shuang covered her mouth and laughed. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Zhang Jingyi looked at the man and Wolf with a meaningful gaze. He waved his hand and took everyone away. "Senior, did you fly in the wrong direction?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Zhang Jingyi was now flying out of the city with them. That's right. King Pan arranged the battlefield outside the city. Jiang Jingyi said. When they arrived outside the city, there was already a sea of people outside. On a high platform, the 4 tycoons of King Pan were sitting on their seats. There were 3 empty seats next to them. Jiang Jingyi brought Qin Feiyang and the others and descended directly onto the high platform. Glancing at the 4 tycoons, Jiang Jingyi smiled faintly and said, "Greetings to the 4 lords. Greetings to the 4 lords." Qin Feiyang and the others cupped their hands and said, King Pan and the others nodded faintly. The white-haired old man looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Little guy, what happened to you? Were you beaten up?" "Senior, you really like to joke," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "You must have done something shameful and suffered retribution." King Pan sneered. "Senior, as the king of King Pan, isn't it too disgraceful to say such uncultured words? No wonder Xia Qianqian is so arrogant and domineering. Like father, like daughter." Qin Feiyang didn't hide his sarcasm. "Little Qinzi, why are you talking nonsense with this kind of villain? It's a waste of saliva." Wolf King despised. "You!" King Pan slapped the armrest of his seat and flew into a rage. Xia Qianqian, who was beside him, was also furious. The white-haired old man reached out to stop King Pan and said with a smile, "Little guy, you still have to be careful with your words. After all, you will become a member of Pan County soon." Jiang Jingyi raised his eyebrows. "Are you deliberately looking for trouble?" Jia He said disdainfully, "Don't speak too early. Otherwise, it will be even worse if you lose later." "Then we will wait and see," the white-haired old man said with a smile. "Who's afraid of who?" Jia He sneered. Jiang Jingyi, Jia He, and Patriarch Lin walked to the 3 empty seats and sat down. Qin Feiyang and the others stood behind the 3 of them. Patriarch Lin glanced at the audience and frowned. "Why aren't your people here yet? Are they afraid to come?" King Pan said disdainfully, "Haven't you heard that geniuses usually appear last?" The eldest prince and the others raised their eyebrows. Did he mean that they were all idiots? "Calm down." Old Ancestor Lin turned around and looked at them. He said calmly, "I only heard that only fools are slow because they lack confidence. Elder Jia, am I right?" "Very right." Jia He nodded, his face full of sarcasm. The smell of gunpowder was strong. Whoosh! At this moment, the brawny man in golden armor brought 14 young men and women from the distant mountain range. Qin Feiyang, Wolf King, and Ling Yunfei's pupils shrank. The 14 people were all around 18 or 19 years old. They all had outstanding looks and extraordinary temperaments, but their bodies were stained with blood at this moment, and the blood had not dried yet. Their bodies were filled with a shocking, murderous aura. Not good. Ling Yunfei's tone was low and his eyes were solemn. Qin Feiyang nodded, because it was obvious that these people had just returned from fighting with the beasts. In other words, these 14 people were not pampered young ladies or noble young masters. They were all people with strong combat experience. On the other hand, on their side, other than Qin Feiyang, Ling Yunfei, and the Wolf King, the rest of them were basically descendants of wealthy families who lived like princes, especially the eldest prince and Shuiyang. They probably didn't even know what the smell of death was. This battle was very mysterious. Whoosh! The brawny man in golden armor led the 14 people and landed on the high platform. A pungent smell of blood suddenly filled the air. "Greetings to the 4 lords." The 14 people faced Pan Wang and the other 3 and bowed. "Good." Pan Wang clapped his hands and asked, "Are you confident that you can win this battle?" "Yes." The 14 people shouted in unison. A shocking murderous aura spread out from their bodies. A purple-clothed youth covered in blood glanced at Qin Feiyang and the others and said sarcastically, "You are our opponents this time? You're really weak." "Is that so?" Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The purple-clothed youth said, "You must be Qin Feiyang. I heard that you are very powerful in the county of Yin, but this is Pan County. Even if you open the door to your potential, you will still be a stepping stone under our feet." "So arrogant? Come, come, come. Brother Wolf will play with you." The Wolf King took a step forward, and a terrifying aura instantly surged out from him. "You can't." The purple-clothed youth stretched out his arm and shook his index finger at Wolf King and said faintly. Zhang Jingyi said faintly, "Cut the crap, let's start." Pan Wang sneered and nodded at the brawny man in golden armor. The brawny man in golden armor walked to the center of the high platform and said loudly, "In this competition, weapons are not allowed, and pills are not allowed." Zhang Jingyi looked at Pan Wang and the others and said with a sarcastic tone, "You guys are really considerate. They had supreme grade pills, but Pan County didn't. This was a huge advantage. But now, Pan County had erased this advantage in advance." Pan Wang and the others turned a deaf ear. The brawny man in golden armor continued, "Although this is a friendly competition, fists and feet have no eyes. So, in this competition, regardless of life or death, and if the contestants do not admit defeat, no one outside is allowed to interfere." HM, Jiang Jingyi, Jia He, and Great Ancestor Lin all stood up and stared at Pan Wang and the others with aggressive gazes. The eldest prince and the others were also shocked. This was a battle of life and death. Why weren't they notified in advance? Zhang Jingyi said in a low voice, "Why didn't you tell me first? I need an explanation." "I'm sorry. I thought you would agree, so I didn't tell you. But I didn't expect you to have such a big reaction. Don't you have confidence in your young people in the county of Yin?" Pan Wang said. Zhang Jingyi's face was dark. He could tell that Pan Wang wanted to use this opportunity to get rid of Qin Feiyang. But if he didn't agree, the county of Yin would lose face. The young man in purple smirked and cupped his hands. "Senior Jiang, if you're not satisfied, then we'll change it to a battle of life and death. After all, not everyone dares to accept a battle of life and death." Ling Yunfei whispered, "This guy is asking for a beating." Wolf King smirked. "Brother Wolf likes this kind of people because the more arrogant they are, the better it is to beat them up. What do you think?" Zhang Jingyi looked at Jia He and Great Ancestor Lin. "What are you thinking? Let's fight." Jia He shouted straightforwardly, "That's right, we're not afraid of them." Great Ancestor Lin's eyes flashed coldly. "What about you?" Zhang Jingyi looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. The eldest prince and the others nodded. Since Pan Wang had said so badly, it would be too embarrassing if they didn't accept the challenge. Feng Ling looked at the young man in purple and said to Zhang Jingyi, "Hurry up, don't waste time." Obviously, the young man in purple's arrogance also ignited her anger. Phew. Zhang Jingyi glanced at Qin Feiyang and saw that he didn't object. He let out a long breath and returned to his chair. He said to Pan Wang, "The county of Yin will play with you until the end." Pan Wang smiled as if he had succeeded in his scheme. He glanced at the fee in front of him and said, "General, let's continue." The brawny man in golden armor explained the rules of the competition. Both sides would draw lots to decide who would go on stage. They would use the method of attrition. If Qin Feiyang won, he would have to stay on the stage and fight with the next opponent until he was defeated. These rules are quite interesting. Qin Feiyang mumbled. Chapter 224. After the golden-armored man finished his explanation, he took out 2 wooden boxes that he had prepared beforehand. One was placed in front of Pan Wang. The other was placed in front of Jiang Jingyi. It was squarish and had a round opening on it, just big enough for a hand to fit in. The golden-armored man said, "There are 14 bamboo sticks in the wooden box, each with a name written on it. Whoever gets picked will go on stage." "Wait, I want to check if you guys are cheating." Jia He stood up, picked up the wooden box, poured out all the bamboo sticks, and checked them one by one. "Is there Brother Wolf's name?" Wolf King asked anxiously. Jia He glanced at it coldly, put away the bamboo sticks without a word, and poured out the bamboo sticks from the wooden box in front of Pan Wang. There were 28 bamboo sticks in the 2 wooden boxes. Whether it was thickness, length, or width, they were all exactly the same. The names were also printed on them. If one didn't look with their eyes, they wouldn't be able to feel what was written on them. It was impossible to cheat. Old Ancestor Lin returned to his seat and shook his head at Jiang Jingyi. The golden-armored man said, "Since there are no problems, let's start the drawing. I'll shake it first, in case they say I'm cheating again." Pan Wang sneered at old Ancestor Lin, shook the wooden box hard and said, "I don't need to grab it with my hands. This way, No one will say I'm cheating. Jia He raised his eyebrows. This person was really narrow-minded. Pan Wang stretched out his index finger, and a wisp of battle chi flew into the wooden box, and a bamboo stick flew out. Catching the bamboo stick and seeing the name on it, Pan Wang's eyes flashed with an inexplicable light, and he said loudly, "Cheng Ming." Before he finished speaking, the most arrogant purple-clothed young man stepped out and landed in the middle of the high platform. A trace of regret crawled up his face, and he looked at Qin Feiyang and the others, shook his head and sighed. "I didn't expect to be the first to go. It's really your misfortune." The eldest prince and the others clenched their hands, and their eyes were frighteningly gloomy. As for Qin Feiyang, he had a faint smile on his face. He had a carefree appearance, as if he didn't care about it at all. Zhang Jingyi also used battle chi to take out a bamboo stick. It must be Brother Wolf. Wolf King stared fixedly at the bamboo stick, his eyes glittering. Cheng Ming was too arrogant. It wanted to personally send this person to hell. Xiefeng. Zhang Jingyi shouted out a name. Wolf King looked at Xiefeng with displeasure and said disdainfully, "Don't get in the way of Brother Wolf. You are no match for him. If you don't want to die, admit defeat." The first prince and his men all glared at it. Jia He and old ancestor Lin's expressions were ugly. What did this bastard mean? They hadn't even started, and he had already said such discouraging words. Was he a spy sent by Panjun? Xiefeng stood beside the first prince and glared at Wolf King angrily. This bastard. Why is he asking for a beating? Once the competition was over, he would slowly settle the score. The eldest prince patted Xiefeng's shoulder and said in a deep voice, "Ignore him and focus on the competition. You must win." The first battle was very important. If they lost, their morale would definitely be affected, and they would probably face a situation of complete defeat. "Don't worry." Xiefeng smiled confidently and strode to Cheng Ming. He cupped his hands and said, "Please enlighten me." Cheng Ming said lightly, "Don't be long-winded. Bring it on." Xiefeng was considered one of the best of the younger generation in Yin County. Other than when he fought with Qin Feiyang and the others, when had he ever been looked down upon like this? Immediately, a raging fire burned in his heart. Boom! His aura exploded as he threw a punch. It was the Overlord Fist. He wanted to prove himself and shut Wolf King up. He wanted to embarrass the people of Panjun. So he used all his strength. 2-star Martial Grandmaster? Qin Feiyang was surprised. He remembered that Xiefeng was only a 9-star Martial Grandmaster the last time they fought. Luo Qingzhu said in a low voice, before coming to Panjun, he had taken a top-grade red fire glaze elixir. Qin Feiyang said, "So Wang Xia and Shui Yang have also taken it?" For such an important competition, they naturally have to participate in their best condition. However, the people of Panjun don't seem to care. Luo Qingzhu glanced at Cheng Ming and the others with a trace of worry in her eyes. Because when they saw Xiefeng's aura, Cheng Ming and the others did not look nervous at all. Instead, they looked mocking. This meant that the other party was very confident. At this moment, Cheng Ming stretched out his hand and raised a finger. He said lightly, "I'll finish you in one move." Arrogant. I'd like to see who will finish who in one move. Xiefeng was furious. After taking a top-grade red fire glaze elixir, he was already a 2-star Martial Grandmaster. Coupled with the Overlord Fist, his aura was shocking and could intimidate the other party mentally. Even if Cheng Ming was also a 2-star Martial Grandmaster, he was confident in fighting. Boom. Cheng Ming also released his aura. He was a 3-star Martial Grandmaster. Following closely, he slapped out with his palm, setting off a gust of wind that whistled loudly. It was also a perfect martial arts technique. Xiefeng's expression changed immediately. The fist and the palm collided at lightning speed. "Ah!" Xiefeng screamed and was sent flying on the spot. He spat out blood. He flew dozens of meters away and landed heavily on the ground. With a loud bang, a large crater was created. How could this be? Xiefeng was dumbfounded. His opponent was a 3-star Martial Grandmaster. He could not feel the pain. His heart was filled with shame. He had promised the first prince not to worry, but in the end, he was defeated by his opponent in one move. No matter how thick-skinned he could not take such a blow. Whoosh! Chengming strode toward the pit with a cruel smile on his face. He's coming. Quickly admit defeat, or you'll lose your life. Wolf King reminded Xiefeng in a friendly manner. But this friendliness only added to Xiefeng's shame. So what if you're a 3-star martial grandmaster? Since I'm going to risk my life, I'll win this competition, Xiefeng roared. He pushed himself up from the ground and jumped out of the pit. His eyes were fixed on Chengming. He used a mysterious footwork and rushed over without hesitation. This footwork was the auxiliary martial arts technique that the first prince had given him. Although it was only at the intermediate grade, its speed was 10% faster than Chengming's due to the twofold increase. But seeing Xiefeng's speed, Chengming was still disdainful. Go to hell. Xiefeng went behind Chengming. Without saying a word, his true energy surged and he punched Chengming's head. It's useless to have speed without actual combat experience. Chengming smiled disdainfully and lowered his head to avoid the punch. Immediately, he turned around and threw out a palm. Xiefeng could not dodge in time and was hit in the stomach. With a cry, blood spurted out. His entire body flew out like a meteor. This is the difference between a pampered person and a person who has been through life and death situations. Qin Feiyang muttered. If his battle awareness was strong enough and he was experienced enough, it would not be difficult to win against Chengming with an auxiliary martial arts technique, even if it was a medium-grade one. But unfortunately, to Xiefeng, this was a dream that could never be realized. Wolf King turned to look at Jia He and laughed. Old man, if you don't ask him to admit defeat, prepare to collect his corpse. Qin Feiyang, can you shut it up? Jia He's veins were bulging. His heart was already very irritated, but this ignorant beast deliberately chose this time to provoke him. Qin Feiyang said lightly, although the white-eyed wolf's words are unpleasant, what he said is indeed the truth. That's right, that's right. Why don't old men like to hear the truth? Brother Wolf feels so hurt. Wolf King said bitterly. Smack. Jia He slapped the armrest angrily and looked at Xiefeng, who was lying on the ground, moaning weakly. He shouted, useless trash, admit defeat. Admit defeat? Xiefeng's body and mind trembled, his face full of unwillingness. If he were to admit defeat, not only would the county of Yin lose face, but he would also never be able to hold his head high again. Especially that beast. It would look down on him even more. But if he did not admit defeat, only death would await him. I admit defeat. Between life and dignity, he chose life and dignity in the end. Haha, Panwang laughed. Xia Qianqian also laughed mockingly. The white-haired old man and the other two were also smiling. The other 13 contestants and the crowd below the stage did not hide the mockery on their faces. Those from the county of Pan, including Jiang Zhengyi, looked livid. Is this the prodigy of the county of Yin? How disappointing. If it were me, I would not let him fight. Embarrassing. Chengming shook his head in disappointment and turned to the 13 contestants with a smile. I'm afraid you won't have a chance to fight. It can't be helped. The county of Yin is so useless. The 13 contestants looked regretful. Seeing that they were echoing each other, the eldest prince and the others were furious. They clenched their fists so hard that their knuckles cracked. Xiefeng clutched his abdomen and limped toward Jiang Zhengyi. But when he passed by Chengming stretched out his leg and hooked Xiefeng, causing him to fall flat on his face. Chengming hurriedly said, I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. But you fell with a light hook. Isn't that too bad? Come, I'll pull you up. He smiled and extended his hand. Bastard! The eyes of the eldest prince and the others, as well as Xiefeng, turned red. He had already admitted defeat, but he still humiliated him like this. This was too much. Qin Feiyang narrowed his eyes. There was a playful look in his eyes. Panwang was overjoyed. The resentment that had been bottled up in his heart during this period of time finally found a way to vent out. He glanced at Qin Feiyang from the corner of his eye and sneered. Just you wait, you little beast. It'll be your turn soon. Get lost. Xiefeng roared furiously and slapped Chengming's arm away. He got up in a sorry state. Holding back the humiliation and indignation, he walked to Jiang Zhengyi and the others. He did not dare to look at them. He lowered his head and said, I'm sorry. I'm useless. Jiang Jingyi smiled. He's a 3-star martial grandmaster, and you're a 2-star martial grandmaster. It's normal for you to lose to him. Don't be discouraged. You've already done well. Done well? Xie Feng laughed at himself. If that was true, he was really hopeless. Jiang Jingyi was obviously just comforting them. He returned to the back of the trio and said in a low voice, Ruffian Wolf, laugh if you want to. Don't hold it in until you get internal injuries. SK. The Wolf King disdainfully ran up to Jiang Jingyi and stared at the wooden box, mumbling to himself. Chapter 225. It really can't wait. Ling Yunfei shook his head and smiled bitterly. Those who anger it usually don't have a good ending. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. It would be different if he didn't get Wolf King. But if he did, Cheng Ming's ending would be very miserable. Can't you behave? Jiang Jingyi was also helpless. If it could fight, he would have already let it fight and not let Xie Feng embarrass himself. Hurry up, don't talk so much nonsense, Wolf King urged. Jiang Jingyi's face darkened. He sent a wisp of battle chi into the wooden stick and lifted his finger slightly. A bamboo stick flew out. Catching it in his hand, Jiang Jingyi frowned and said, Lin Hua. Damn, is Brother Wolf's name on it? Wolf King was very unhappy. He turned his head and looked at Lin Hua. You and Xie Feng are the same. Don't waste time, just admit defeat. Jiang Jingyi shouted, Go away. If he didn't know Wolf King well, he would have suspected that this guy was a spy sent by Pan Jun to destroy their fighting spirit. Wolf King angrily retreated to Qin Feiyang's side. Lin Hua looked at the Wolf King with a venomous glint in his eyes. He suddenly leaped up and his aura exploded. When he landed, he didn't say a word and hit Cheng Ming's chest with the origin returning palm. It was also very straightforward. The wind from the palm was like a sharp blade blowing on Cheng Ming's body. Cheng Ming's lips curled into a sneer as he leaned his body slightly to the side, easily dodging the attack. At the same time, he stretched out his hand and grabbed Lin Hua's arm. He won again. Pan Jun and his daughter smiled brightly. However, Lin Hua didn't panic at all. He calmly used an auxiliary martial technique and quickly went to the side. He used the Overlord Fist and punched Cheng Ming's temple. Hey! Qin Feiyang was surprised. Lin Hua's reaction was so fast. He remembered that when Lin Hua fought with him, he didn't have any battle consciousness at all. How long had it been? And he had improved so much. However, Cheng Ming was no pushover either. Just as Lin Hua's fist was about to land on his temple, he jerked his head back and dodged the fatal punch. His face was full of sarcasm. But at this moment, Lin Hua's tightly clenched fist suddenly loosened and slapped Cheng Ming's face. Pa! It was crisp and resounding, especially ear-piercing. A striking palm print quickly appeared on Cheng Ming's face. The ridicule instantly froze and was replaced by disbelief. The faces of the father and daughter of the king of Yin turned extremely ugly. Although this slap had landed on Cheng Ming's face, their faces were inexplicably burning. There was complete silence. The people of Pan County were in disbelief. Cheng Ming's battle awareness was obvious to all, and he was completely qualified to dominate those of the same cultivation level. Yet he had actually been slapped by that person? Was this a dream? How could the people of the county of Yin, who lived like princes, react so quickly? Even Jiang Jingyi and the others did not expect Lin Hua's performance to be so shocking, let alone them. It could be said that this slap played a crucial role. It had boosted the fighting spirit of the first prince and the others. It feels like he has been reborn, Ling Yunfei mumbled. He was like a completely different person from the Lin Hua of the past. Lin Hao said proudly, Never underestimate the people of the Lin family. Actually, it's all thanks to you, Qin Feiyang. Not only was Lin Hua not depressed when he lost to you last time, but the hatred in his heart made him even crazier than before. Since then, he has been fighting with the disciples of the family every day. Although he hasn't developed his battle instincts, his actual combat experience is far beyond his peers. Great Ancestor Lin smiled, very pleased and proud. No matter how powerful he is, it won't change the fact that he is a eunuch. Wolf King smiled slyly. Great Ancestor Lin's throat suddenly seemed to be stuck, and his face turned red with anger. Eunuch, don't hit someone in the face, and don't expose someone's shortcomings when scolding them. Have you not heard of this saying before? You can't be so dishonest. Although he was not human and was a beast, he could not be uneducated. He glared at Qin Feiyong and said sternly, if you don't discipline him, don't blame me for being ruthless. Qin Feiyong smiled apologetically and said, Senior, please don't be angry. I will discipline him now. However, at this moment, an angry roar was heard. You bastard! How dare you hit me? It was Cheng Ming's angry roar. At this moment, his facial features were almost distorted as he glared at Lin Hua, as if he wanted to swallow him alive. Lin Hua did not say anything and only looked at him coldly. However, because of this, Cheng Ming was even more furious. Whoosh! He took a step forward, and his speed actually increased explosively. It was a full 3 times faster than before. He has also mastered an auxiliary martial technique, and it's a superior auxiliary martial technique. The first prince and the others' faces changed. I admit defeat. Lin Hua finally spoke. He was only a 2-star martial ancestor. If the other party did not have any auxiliary martial techniques, he could give it his all. However, if they continued to fight, he would be the one at a disadvantage. The meaning of him admitting defeat was different from Xiefeng's. Xiefeng admitted defeat without being able to fight back and was beaten like a dead dog. At least he gave Cheng Ming a slap. Even though it was just a slap, it was still a great humiliation to anyone. Most importantly, he was not hurt at all. However, Cheng Ming turned a deaf ear. He was furious. If he did not kill this person, he would go crazy. Zhang Jingyi said calmly, Old Dog Pan, are you going to watch him do this? Although his tone was calm, it was filled with a shocking murderous intent. Pan Wang shouted, Cheng Ming, stop right there. Cheng Ming shuddered and stopped immediately. He could not help but break out in cold sweat. It was worth noting that there were 3 war emperors in the county of Yin at the moment. If Yi Futian were to kill that man, there was no doubt that Yi Futian would die on the spot as well. Even Pan Wang and the other 3 could not save him, because he had broken the rules. This rule was set by Pan County, and the situation was even more serious. However, if he did not wash away this humiliation, he would be laughed at in the future. When Lin Hua walked past him, he sneered, You're smart to admit defeat. However, it won't be easy for you to leave Pan County alive. I hit you too lightly just now. Otherwise, the slap mark on your face would be even more obvious. Lin Hua said mockingly, then turned around and left. Crack! Cheng Ming clenched his fists and stared at Lin Hua's back. His eyes were filled with anger. Pavilion Master, Ancestral Patriarch, Elder Jia, I'm sorry. Lin Hua walked over and lowered his head. He wanted to win the battle, but his opponent's strength was far beyond his expectations. It's okay. Ancestral Patriarch Lin waved his hand and smiled. That slap was even more exciting than defeating him. Zhang Jingyi and Jia He nodded with smiles on their faces. What a load of nonsense. I'll tell you clearly. From now on, I'll kill whoever comes up. I'll kill until you're scared and don't dare to come up again. Cheng Ming smiled coldly. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Damn it, this is infuriating. Wolf King looked at Lin Hua and Xiefeng angrily and scolded. If you can't even take care of a piece of trash, what's the point of living? You might as well find a piece of tofu and kill yourself. Shut up. Can't you see that he's a 3-star martial ancestor and has a superior auxiliary martial technique? How do you want us to fight? Go ahead if you can. You'll end up worse than us. Lin Hua and Xiefeng were furious. This bastard was simply unreasonable. He didn't even look at the situation and only knew how to shout. It was easy for him to say that. Wolf King said with disdain, He's just a piece of trash. If it was Wolf King, he would be finished in no time. At this moment, Zhang Jingyi's voice sounded. Next, Wei Feng, it's not me again? Wolf King was furious and shouted, Which bastard is Wei Feng? Me. A teenager from the royal family walked out. Wolf King stood up and looked at him for a moment. He waved his claws and said, Scram to the side. With your mediocre skills, It's not enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. Wei Feng was instantly enraged. You wolf cub, see if I don't teach you a lesson. Jiang Jingyi couldn't bear it anymore. He stood up and kicked Wolf King to the ground and shouted, "Stop it, or even if it's your turn, I won't let you compete." Woo-woo. Wolf King whimpered and looked at Jiang Jingyi bitterly. Jiang Jingyi slapped his forehead and looked at the sky speechlessly. Why would such a person appear in this world? It really made one helpless. Ayo. But at this moment, Wolf King's ferocious nature erupted and bit Jiang Jingyi's thigh. Before Jiang Jingyi could get angry, it quickly loosened its mouth and ran away without looking back. Everyone present was dumbfounded. He even dared to bite Jiang Jingyi. Was this bastard going to turn the sky upside down? Damn wolf cub, I'll suppress you for 10,000 years. Jiang Jingyi was furious. He thought that Wolf King already knew his mistake, but he didn't expect that he was just distracting him and taking the opportunity to bite him. Cough. Patriarch Lin held back his laughter and coughed dryly. He reminded, Pavilion Master Jiang, pay attention to your status. Humph. I'll take care of you after the competition. Jiang Jingyi snorted and glared fiercely at Wolf King. He returned to his seat and shouted, Wei Feng, do you want to fight or just admit defeat? Even if I'm going to lose, I have to lose with dignity. Wei Feng took a step forward and faced Cheng Ming. His courage made many people look at him in a different light. Cheng Ming laughed sinisterly and used auxiliary martial arts techniques to attack crazily. At this moment, he displayed all his strength. That fierce attack was like a storm, not giving Wei Feng the slightest chance to breathe. He could only be beaten. In less than 5 breaths, he was covered in injuries and flew out like a bloody man, smashing in front of Qin Feiyang and the others. The first prince hurried forward. With one look, his face turned pale. The other royal youth also hurriedly squatted on the ground and stretched his finger to Wei Feng's nostrils. His arm suddenly trembled and he muttered, He killed second brother. Jiang Jingyi, Jia He, and Patriarch Lin's eyes changed at this moment. Qin Feiyang's eyes also flashed with a shocking cold light. Cheng Ming laughed sinisterly. I said, from now on, none of you can leave this high platform alive. I'm going to kill you. Another royal youth suddenly raised his head and looked at Cheng Ming. With a low roar, he rushed toward Cheng Ming like a madman. Chapter 226. Second brother? Third brother? Qin Feiyang was stunned. So, the first prince was brothers with these two? Seeing Qin Feiyang's reaction, Luo Qingzhu shook her head helplessly. He had stayed in Yin City for so long, but he still did not know the identities of Wei Feng and the first prince. He was really slow to realize. She explained in a low voice, Wei Feng is the second prince of Yin County. The other one is called Wei Tai, the third prince. Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at Cheng Ming. Just nice. Cheng Ming also looked at him. Invisible sparks flew when their eyes met. Cheng Ming smiled. How do you feel when you see the people around you die? Qin Feiyang shrugged. You'll die a worse death than him. Really? Cheng Ming sneered. Let's wait and see. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, pretending to be calm. Let's see how long you can pretend. Qin Feiyang's name will become a joke in Pan County today. I'll make you beg for mercy like a dog. And that bastard. I've never eaten wolf meat before. Today is a good time to taste it. The other 13 people in Pan County mocked. They were full of contempt. Damn. Which bastard decided on this competition? Damn it. This is so humiliating. The Wolf King cursed angrily. Pan County's face instantly darkened. The white-haired old man and the other two were obviously unhappy. This bastard was definitely cursing them on purpose, because it was obvious that the competition format was the result of the 4 of them discussing it. Jiang Jingyi looked at the 4 people and rolled up a bamboo stick with battle aura on his fingertips. When he saw the name on it, a glint flashed across his eyes. I don't need to look to know that it's not my brother, Wolf King said uninterestedly. Cheng Ming sneered. No matter who it is, there's only one result for anyone who dares to go up. Death. Jiang Jingyi shouted. The next one is Wolf King. Brother? Wolf King was stunned. He wondered if he was hallucinating. Jiang Jingyi said, Didn't you say you wanted to fight? If you lose, even if they don't skin you alive, I will. Ha ha. Wolf King stood up like a human, laughing madly towards the sky. His arrogance was insufferably arrogant. Cheng Ming laughed sinisterly. Bastard, I have to say, it's really your misfortune. Unfilial son. I'll teach you how to behave now. The Wolf King strode over to Cheng Ming with a swaggering air. Cheng Ming clenched his fists as a cold light flashed in his eyes. In the meantime, the golden-armored man's face also darkened. Because he was Cheng Ming's father. The golden-armored man said in a deep voice, "Don't kill it all at once. Torture it properly." "Definitely." Cheng Ming smiled coldly. "Cut the crap. Bring it on." Wolf King stood on the ground and hooked its claws at Cheng Ming. His valiant and high-spirited appearance made the people of Pan County laugh out loud. Was it here to be funny? How could such a clown be reliable? Cheng Ming, quickly kill it. At night, we'll drink wolf blood and eat wolf meat. The 13 young people laughed loudly. Okay, wait for me. Cheng Ming replied confidently. Like an arrow, he shot out explosively. His aura was fully released. In the palm of his hand, the true energy was dazzling. When he got close, he slapped at Wolf King without holding back at all. Awesome, brother. Dodge. The Wolf King let out a panicked roar and immediately fled. He still ran on his feet as if he was a thief. His funny appearance made the crowd below the stage laugh nonstop. Jiang Jingyi's face was even darker than Jia Hei's black face. This bastard. What the hell was he doing? Bastard, aren't you very arrogant? Why are you running? Cheng Ming sneered disdainfully and turned to chase after him. You're so awesome. How can I not run? Wolf King roared without turning his head. Are you going to keep running like this? Look at how many pairs of eyes are watching. Don't you find it embarrassing? Cheng Ming sneered. I'm running with the rhythm. Catch me if you can. The Wolf King chuckled. You're not ashamed, but proud. You're really a shameless piece of trash. Cheng Ming shook his head, his face full of disdain. No. Cheng Ming, be careful. It's faster than you. The 13 young people suddenly changed their expressions and reminded him. Everyone present, including Cheng Ming, could not help but be stunned. After careful observation, they found that it was true. Although the bastard seemed to be running in panic, there was no panic in its expression. It seemed to be playing with Cheng Ming. How is this possible? Cheng Ming noticed this and his heart was filled with disbelief. One must know. He was now using an auxiliary martial technique, and his speed was 3 times faster than usual. How could he not catch up with the bastard? Could it be that its strength was stronger than his? Warm-up is over. Let's fight. Just as everyone was in shock, Wolf King suddenly howled, turned around, and took the initiative to meet Cheng Ming. You came at the right time. Even if you're stronger than me, I have a perfect martial technique. It's enough to kill you. Cheng Ming's eyes were filled with a strong murderous intent. He slapped out with all his might, and a violent wind suddenly swept in all directions. Now, it's time for Brother Wolf to show his prowess. Wolf King muttered, and a shocking ferocious aura erupted from its body. Its 2 front paws touched the ground, and it suddenly jumped up. 7 kill steps. Boom. It stomped on Cheng Ming's wrist. Cheng Ming's arm trembled, and the flesh on the 4 sides of his arm was immediately torn open. His face was instantly filled with shock. This strength, it was not inferior to his at all. Moreover, he could feel that this kick was not simple. It contained a terrifying murderous intent. This murderous intent made his entire body turn cold, and he inexplicably panicked. The next moment, the Wolf King stomped on the top of his head again, accompanied by a cracking sound. Cheng Ming's head shattered on the spot, and blood splattered in the air. How is this possible? Cheng Ming's body and mind trembled. This speed, this strength, this beast was actually powerful to such an extent. Boom. Crack. Wolf King landed on the ground, and a large part of the ground under his feet was shattered, like a spider web. Seeing this scene, everyone in Pan County was extremely shocked. However, it was not over yet. Just as Wolf King landed on the ground, its soft tail was like a sharp thorn, and it pierced into Cheng Ming's back like lightning. It shattered Cheng Ming's heart in one fell swoop. Ah! Cheng Ming screamed on the spot, full of pain, despair, and unwillingness. Good kill. The third prince roared loudly. Although Cheng Ming was not killed by him, he had finally avenged the second prince's great hatred. Second brother, you can rest in peace now, the eldest prince muttered in a low voice. The surrounding crowd was dumbfounded. They did not expect Wolf King to be so ridiculously strong. Whether it was speed or strength, he was not inferior to Cheng Ming at all. Brother Wolf has appeared. Who can compete with him? Next. Wolf King pulled out his tail and stood majestically in the middle of the high platform, like a peerless beast, looking disdainfully at the 13 people. In his huge pupils, there was a terrifying, murderous light. Bang! Cheng Ming also fell to the ground, dead. Cheng Ming, the brawny man in golden armor, shouted and anxiously ran up. Little beast, I'm going to kill you. Seeing the face that died with remaining grievances, the brawny man in golden armor's eyes instantly turned blood red. With a wave of his hand, a wave of battle aura flew towards Wolf King. Wolf King did not take it to heart, because he knew that someone would come forward. Sure enough, the moment the brawny man in golden armor made his move, Jiang Jingyi suddenly stood up and in the blink of an eye, landed behind Wolf King. With a wave of his big sleeve, the brawny man in golden armor's battle aura was instantly annihilated. Immediately, he took a step forward and mercilessly kicked the golden-armored man in the face. Ah! Accompanied by a painful howl, the brawny man in golden armor flew out horizontally. His entire face was badly mangled and his flesh was lacerated. Like a meteorite, he crashed into a distant mountain range. King Pan was furious. Qin Feiyong took a step forward and landed beside Wolf King. He sneered, "King Pan, is this the style of your Pan County? What a joke." King Pan said angrily, "Do you have the right to speak here? How about it? Cheng Ming killed the second prince. We didn't even fart. Now that Wolf King killed Cheng Ming, your royal family's dog actually made a move against him. You still have reason, don't you? I think not only Cheng Ming and his son are trash, you, the county king, are the trash of trash, disgusting." Qin Feiyong looked at King Pan with disgust. "Little bastard, you're courting death." King Pan stood up, his killing intent rising. "Don't you dare touch him." Jiang Jingyi suddenly turned his head to look at him and said coldly, "If you dare touch a hair of his, I'll slaughter millions of Pan County." His entire body was filled with a murderous aura. At this moment, he could only be described as domineering. King Pan stared at the two men and the wolf in the field. The eldest prince took a step forward and said coldly, "I've tolerated you for a long time. If you continue to be so rude and unreasonable, I'll officially declare war on Pan County on behalf of the county of Yan's royal family." The crowd immediately became restless. King Pan's pupils contracted. The other three leaders couldn't stay calm either. "King Pan, everyone in the county of Yin knows to accept defeat. As the organizer of this friendly competition, your actions are indeed inappropriate. You and the great commander are too selfish. I'll host the competition from now on," the white-haired old man said. After saying that, he stood up and looked at Wolf King, Qin Feiyong, and Jiang Jingyi. He cupped his hands and said, "Pan County was in the wrong just now. Please forgive us." Then, he turned to look at the eldest prince and smiled apologetically. "Humph." The eldest prince snorted coldly and retreated to the third prince's side. His eyes were extremely gloomy. "The grudge of killing my son is irreconcilable. Beast, give me your life." But at this moment, accompanied by a fierce roar, the brawny man in golden armor rushed toward the high platform with a monstrous aura. "You won't be satisfied until you die." Jiang Jingyi turned his head and looked. When he opened and closed his eyes, two rays of shocking cold light burst out. However, there was one person who rushed in front of him and flew toward the brawny man in golden armor. It was King Pan. As soon as he flew over, he slapped the brawny man in golden armor in front of everyone and shouted, "Don't you think you've embarrassed yourself enough?" The brawny man in golden armor was stunned and said anxiously, "Your Majesty, Take your son's body and get lost immediately, King Pan shouted. What an idiot. Didn't he see that Jiang Jingyi was angry? If he continued to make trouble, there would definitely be a bloody storm in King Pan City today. The brawny man in golden armor landed on the high platform with a face full of resentment and unwillingness. He picked up Chengming's body and turned to fly away. Qin Feiyong, Wolf King, I swear, I will let you die without a burial place. Chapter 227. Pan Wang returned to the high platform, glanced at Qin Feiyong gloomily, sat on the chair, and fell silent. Wolf Cub, good job. Jiang Jingyi patted Wolf King's head, laughed happily, and walked towards the seat. Fuck, this brother's head is not for free, you have to pay. Wolf King muttered in dissatisfaction. But before he finished speaking, Qin Feiyong also reached out and patted its head, coldly saying, Remember, don't leave a single one alive. Finished. He glanced at the 13 people, the corner of his mouth pursed into a sneer, and turned back to the camp. That's a must. Wolf King grinned, looked at the white-haired old man, and impatiently said, Old man, hurry up, don't waste your brother's time. Brother? The white-haired old man was stunned, the veins on his forehead bulging, and coldly snorted. Little bastard, don't be complacent, you will cry later. As he spoke, he raised his hand, releasing his battle chi, and rolled up a bamboo stick from the wooden box. Lu Yin, the white-haired old man shouted a name. Bastard, die. An icy yell could be heard. A very gorgeous woman rushed out from the crowd like lightning, her aura surging, and without saying a word, she rushed towards Wolf King. Wolf King used the 7 kill steps and quickly dodged to the side. But at the same time, the gorgeous woman waved her hand, and a cold light swept out from her sleeve. It was actually a steel needle. It was as thin as a cow's hair, and its whole body was shining with a dim light. With a thunderous speed, it shot towards Wolf King. Wolf King was shocked and hurriedly used the 7 kill steps to dodge. Clang! The steel needle shot to the ground. Sparks flew in all directions, and it directly pierced through the thick stone slab, disappearing into the soil below. So close. Wolf King still had lingering fear. But suddenly, the stone slab that was pierced through actually made a sizzling sound, accompanied by a wisp of black smoke. It's poisonous. Wolf King's pupils shrank. Not only did he use a hidden weapon, he even smeared it with poison. Without a doubt, Wolf King was completely enraged and pounced forward. That terrifying, ferocious aura scared the gorgeous woman into retreating. She was just about to admit defeat. But as soon as his lips moved, Wolf King stepped on her head, and a terrifying power surged from his foot. The gorgeous woman screamed, and her head immediately burst open. Bang! He immediately fell to the ground and died. Jiang Jingyi stood up again and said in a deep voice, Old Dog Kong, you're challenging my limits. The ban on the use of weapons was set by Pan Jun. But now, the other party had actually used a hidden weapon to injure him. He had seen countless people, but he had never seen someone as shameless as Zhang Xian. The white-haired old man frowned, clearly displeased. What the hell was Lu Yin doing? Didn't she know that she was embarrassing Pan Jun? Pan Wang said coldly, Hidden weapons are hidden weapons, and weapons are weapons. Don't mix them up. Fuck you. I've seen many shameless people, but this is the first time I've met someone as shameless as you. Why don't you go hang yourself? No, people like you can only be relieved by throwing you into the latrine. It's really sad that Pan Jun has a king like you. Jiang Zhengyi did not care about his image and cursed loudly. It was obvious how angry he was at this moment. It was not his fault. It was Pan Wang's fault for being too shameless. Even Fatso and Wolf King combined could not compare to him. Well said. Wolf King laughed and looked at Pan Wang. You only deserve one word. Bitch. No, bitch. That's not right either. I'm not educated and have no culture. I really can't find a more suitable word to describe you. Let's use the word bitch. Jiang Jingyi's words had already made Pan Wang seethe with anger. Wolf King added fuel to the fire, and he was so angry that he vomited blood. How embarrassing. I didn't expect Pan Wang's character to be so bad. Even if Pan Jun wins this time, we'll become a laughingstock. The crowd below the stage whispered among themselves. Their faces were full of disappointment. They were also extremely ashamed in their hearts. Compared to the people of Yin County, the people on their side were too lacking in quality. They could not afford to lose. Pan Wang, did you see that? Even your people feel ashamed of your actions. Don't you feel ashamed? Qin Feiyong shook his head and sighed. This person was neither magnanimous nor had any character. Other than being stronger, there was really nothing that could be brought up on stage. Pan Wang's face was now completely lost. He wished he could find a hole to hide in. The white-haired old man turned to look at Pan Wang and said with a smile, "Old Xia, you look very tired. Why don't you go back and rest first?" He said it very politely. But in fact, anyone could hear that the white-haired old man was afraid that Pan Wang would continue to embarrass Pan Jun. It was really a failure to live to this extent. Father. Xia Qianqian looked at her father worriedly. She hadn't expected such an ending. I'm fine. Pan Wang shook his head at her, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and let out a long breath. He looked at the white-haired old man and said, I won't interrupt again. Continue. The white-haired old man frowned, but it was not good to drive him away. He looked at the remaining 12 people and said with disappointment, You have to abide by the rules of the competition. If you dare to use despicable means again, I will kill you first before the other party does anything. Yes. The 12 people bowed and replied, their faces a little pale. The white-haired old man took out a bamboo stick. After seeing the name on it, he looked up at a young man in black and frowned. It's your turn. The young man in black stiffened and hesitated. His strength was on par with Liu Yin, and he could not catch up to Cheng Ming at all. Even Cheng Ming was no match for this beast. If he went up, he would undoubtedly be courting death. Wolf King glanced at him and said disdainfully, Take the initiative to admit defeat. No one will laugh at you. After all, I'm too strong. Narcissistic. Feng Ling Er and the other girls burst into laughter. Faced with such a contemptuous attitude, the young man in black was burning with anger. You're still not convinced? Wolf King stood up and looked at the young man in black. He waved his claws impatiently and said, Then hurry up. I'll send you to hell. I admit defeat. The young man in black hurriedly said with a pale face. Although 2 pieces of trash from the county of Yin also admitted defeat, they still went up to fight a few times. You don't even have the guts to go up. Why are you here? Go back and find your mother to drink milk. Wolf King laughed wildly. Xie Fong and Lin Hua's eyes were burning with anger. Wolf King was obviously talking about them. The young man in black was even more annoyed. This was not a humiliation, but a great humiliation that he would never be able to erase for the rest of his life. Next, Guoli. The white-haired old man shouted loudly. Guoli hesitated for a moment and sighed. I also admit defeat. 2 people admitted defeat in a row? The crowd below the stage could not accept it. One had to know. The second prince of the county of Yin knew that he would lose, but he still went up to fight. Although he was killed by Cheng Ming in the end, he won back his pride. However, the people on their side did not even have the courage to go up after witnessing how powerful Wolf King was. They were all the best of the younger generation, but why was there such a big difference in courage? Ling Yunfei gave him a thumbs up and laughed. Brother Wolf, you're amazing. Of course, don't you know who I am? Even if they came up together, Brother Wolf could easily crush them, let alone one by one. Wolf King said proudly. That insufferably arrogant attitude made the crowd even angrier. You have to do your best. We can't let a beast do whatever he wants. If you continue to be like this, how will the people of the county of Yin look at us in the future? Yes, we have to get back our dignity. The crowd roared with righteous indignation. Guali and the black-clothed youth could only suffer in silence, unable to voice out their bitterness. Anyone would say it. However, they had to understand that this was not a game. This was a battle of life and death, and they could lose their lives. Although Lin Hua and the others hated Wolf King, at this moment, they were all cheering for Wolf King. It was so satisfying. This was the way to make the people of the county of Pan so scared that they would not even have the courage to go up. Qin Feiyong also had a faint smile on his face. Suddenly, he noticed that among the people on the opposite side, there was a young man in white who was stained with blood. He looked very calm and did not seem to be affected by Wolf King. Qin Feiyong was a little surprised. This person was about 1.8 meters tall and had a handsome face. His body was as straight as a pine tree. After taking a closer look, Qin Feiyong found that this person's temperament was more outstanding than the others. His expression was filled with a cold arrogance that could not be seen at all. He looked at Pan Wang and was surprised to find that the young man in white looked a little like Pan Wang. Looks like this person is not simple. Qin Feiyong began to secretly pay attention to that person. At the same time, the white-haired old man glanced at the crowd with a hint of worry in his eyes. The situation was not good. Wolf King was too strong. If he continued to draw weaker people, he would definitely take the initiative to admit defeat. In this way, the morale of the county of Pan would drop again and again, and the county of Yin would be unstoppable. Old Kong, do you need me to draw for you? Zhang Jingyi frowned and joked. Shut up. The white-haired old man glared at him and whispered, This time, we must draw a stronger person. With a nervous heart, he took out a bamboo scroll. When he saw the name on it, a smile appeared in his old eyes and he read aloud, Xia Fan. It's the prince. Haha, we will win this time. Bastard, your end is here. Hearing this name, the crowd suddenly became excited. The prince? Qin Feiyong focused his eyes on the young man in white. As expected, as soon as the white-haired old man finished speaking, the young man in white walked out. Brother, you have to kill him. Xia Qianqian was also excited. She gave Wolf King a hateful look. Xia Fan nodded at Xia Qianqian with a smile and walked to the center of the stage. Pan Wang's son, Qin Feiyong murmured. Judging from the crowd's reaction, it seemed that Wolf King would be in for a tough fight this time. The eldest prince and the third prince's eyes also changed at this moment. They looked aggressive. As the sons of the county of Yin, they were not fond of Xia Fan and were even hostile toward him. Xia Fan stopped 10 meters away from Wolf King and ignored the Wolf King. He looked directly at the eldest prince and the third prince and said, I am looking forward to fighting with you too. Obviously, he was also hostile toward the two princes of the county of Yin. I am looking forward to it too, but you should think about how to deal with that angry wolf. Chapter 228. Wolf King was infuriated. How dare he treat me like air? Howl. It howled like a wolf and used the 7 kill steps. It charged towards Xia Fan ferociously. Whoosh. However, Xia Fan dodged the attack with ease. So fast, Qin Feiyong's eyelids twitched. He almost missed Xia Fan's movement when he dodged the attack. Ling Yunfei's eyes darkened. Xia Fan was not an ordinary man. Wolf King was also surprised. He turned around and looked at Xia Fan. Do you know why I have been silent? I didn't even say a word when you insulted my father. Because I don't want to talk nonsense. I want to prove with my actions that you so-called geniuses of the county of Yin are ridiculous. Xia Fan didn't look at Wolf King. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said contemptuously. The first prince and the others frowned. I'm really angry. Wolf King was furious. He dashed forward and whipped Xia Fan's face with his tail. Slap. Xia Fan blocked the attack and his tail hit his hand. You are too weak. He shook his head. A cold light flashed in his eyes. He grabbed Xia Fan's tail and lifted it up. The Wolf King howled and immediately flew off the ground. Then, Xia Fan threw Xia Fan down again. Bang! The Wolf King smashed into the ground, creating a crater. He is so powerful. Qin Feiyong's eyes narrowed. This man was at least a 5-star martial grandmaster. Zhang Jingyi, Jia He, and ancestral patriarch Lin were worried. Pan Wang and Xia Qianqian were smiling brightly. This man was the real genius of the county of Pan. Cheng Ming and the others were not worth mentioning in front of him. Xia Fan finally looked at Wolf King. He was still holding Xia Fan's tail. I heard from Qianqian that you used this tail to slap her face in the city of Yin. Then, he lifted Wolf King and smashed him to the ground. Bang! The pit on the ground deepened, and Wolf King's head was also bleeding from the impact. I believe that with your personality, you won't admit defeat of your own accord. So, you better be prepared, because I will make you wish you were dead. Xia Fan held his head high and puffed out his chest, looking indifferent. Bang, bang. As his hands rose and fell, Wolf King was slammed into the ground. In less than 10 breaths, the surrounding ground was completely unrecognizable. Wolf King seemed to be bathed in blood. The shattered ground was dyed red. Feng Ling Air walked to Qin Feiyang's side and said in a low voice, "This can't go on. Hurry up and make it admit defeat." Luo Qingzhu was also very worried. She nodded and said, "Now is not the time to be loyal. Although Xia Fan is strong, Sister Ling is not weaker than him." "I know it. It won't sit still and wait for death." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Although Wolf King's character was fierce, it was not stubborn at all. If there was really no other way, it would have already admitted defeat. Since it didn't admit defeat, it meant that it must be planning something. "Qin Feiyang, go buy a coffin and prepare to collect the body of that beast." At this time, Xia Qianqian's sharp and mean voice came into Qin Feiyang's ears. Qin Feiyang looked up and smiled. "Do you have one? If you do, give me one." Xia Qianqian said playfully, "If you really want it, I will be a good person and ask someone to buy one for you." "Princess, I am buying coffins. Do you want me to give him one?" In the crowd, a middle-aged man laughed. "Okay, give it to him." Xia Qianqian smiled. That middle-aged man really ran to the high platform, took out a mahogany coffin from his chinkuan bag, and placed it in front of Qin Feiyang. "Thank you." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands. "Thank you?" The middle-aged man was stunned. He turned around and walked down the platform while shaking his head. This guy must have been scared out of his wits by the prince's strength. The surrounding crowd also began to mock him. Giving him a coffin and thanking him? What an idiot. Bang. Xia Fan threw the coffin casually. He threw Wolf King out as if he was throwing garbage. It smashed into the ground dozens of meters away. Blood instantly dyed the place red. "Is this all you've got?" Xia Fan walked over step by step. He was not in a hurry and his face was still calm. It seemed that in his eyes, killing Wolf King was as easy as stepping on an ant. Hee hee. Wolf King opened its mouth. Its dark eyes showed no weakness at all. Instead, it was full of disdain. It stood up stubbornly. Its body was covered in blood. It turned around and looked at Xia Fan. "Is this all you can do?" Xia Fan stopped and looked at Wolf King. He pursed his lips and nodded. "It's interesting that you can still stand up." He took a step forward and landed in front of Wolf King in the blink of an eye. He kicked the Wolf King's body. Bang! Wolf King flew out again and hit the ground. But then, it got up and laughed. "You're too weak." Xia Fan raised his eyebrows. He had said the same thing before. Now, this beast was saying the same thing to him? And it could even laugh? He did not know why, but he felt a little scared. This wolf's behavior was too strange. "No, I have to kill it quickly," he muttered to himself. Although Wolf King did not have the strength to fight back, a deep sense of uneasiness quickly enveloped his heart. Like an arrow, he shot out explosively. His palm was full of dazzling true qi. A terrifying destructive power, like a tide, crazily rolled out. "Qin Feiyang, make it admit defeat." Jiang Jingyi's heart skipped a beat. He hurried to persuade Qin Feiyang. Howl. All of a sudden, a loud and clear wolf howl rushed into everyone's ears. Everyone's heart skipped a beat, because this wolf howl was full of energy and contained a terrifying murderous aura. Wasn't it injured? How could its howl be so powerful? Boom. The next moment, the Wolf King's ferocious aura surged like a volcano erupting. "Thank you so much. Thank you for giving Brother Wolf time." At the same time, a ferocious voice rang in Xia Fan's mind. Xia Fan, who had rushed to Wolf King, was shocked. He hurriedly hit Wolf King with his palm. The strength of this palm was enough to crack a mountain. Wolf King used the 7 kill steps and dodged to the side. He whipped his blood-stained tail. Bang! Xia Fan's thigh was cut open. Blood splattered everywhere. The heart-wrenching pain caused his face to contort and turn pale. At this moment, The Wolf King's soaring aura came to an abrupt halt. The injuries on his body were quickly healing. His huge body grew even bigger. He was now 4 meters long. He looked extremely ferocious. It's breaking through now? Everyone's expression froze at this moment. Qin Feiyong and Ling Yunfei looked at each other and smiled. Not to mention that this fellow did not break through. As long as he broke through, his strength would soar by several times. Xia Fan was destined to be its meal. Xia Qianqian's face turned pale. She hurriedly said, "Brother, don't panic. Even if it breaks through now, it's still no match for you." "That's right. What am I worried about? With my strength, auxiliary, and perfect martial arts, I can easily crush it." Thinking of this, Xia Fan regained his composure. "If you think so, you're wrong," Qin Feiyong said in a low voice. Zhang Jingyi and the others looked at him in surprise. Wolf King stood on the ground and said contemptuously, "Little worm, go lie down in the coffin. I'll give you a quick death." Boom. An aura rushed out of Xia Fan's body. 5-star martial grandmaster. Zhang Jingyi frowned. However, Wolf King did not take it to heart. He sighed and said, "Looks like you're the same as Bitch Xia. You won't behave until you're beaten." "Who is Bitch Xia?" Everyone was confused. "She's his sister, Xia Qianqian." Qin Feiyong reminded him kindly, "Brother, destroy it." Xia Qianqian shouted angrily, "Your brother can't do that." The Wolf King chuckled. "Die." Xia Fan's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He performed an auxiliary martial art and landed in front of Wolf King in a flash. This time, he did not hold back. He was completely annoyed by Wolf King's arrogance. He used a perfect martial art to attack. Whoosh! Wolf King moved his limbs and used the 7 kill steps. He disappeared from Xia Fan's sight in a flash. So fast, Xia Fan's pupils constricted and he could no longer stay calm. Then, he felt a strong sense of danger coming from behind. He turned around decisively and slapped without hesitation. Wolf King was really behind him. But in the next moment, Wolf King disappeared in front of him again. The 7 kill steps had brought his speed to an unprecedented extreme. How could this be? Does he have an auxiliary martial art technique? Xia Fan's eyes widened in disbelief. However, even if he had an auxiliary martial art technique, he could not be so fast. He was a 5-star martial grandmaster. With the help of an auxiliary martial art technique, his speed was comparable to that of an 8-star martial grandmaster. While he was in a daze, Wolf King jumped up and stepped on his right shoulder. Crack! The sound of bones breaking suddenly resounded. Xia Fan's right arm was broken with just 1 step. Everyone was dumbfounded. This beast's strength was going to defy the heavens. "Ah!" Xia Fan screamed. The shock in his heart was getting stronger. He personally felt how powerful Wolf King's kick was. It was much more powerful than his perfect martial art technique. What the hell was going on? Is it the 7 kill steps? Pan Wang suddenly stood up, his face full of surprise. "Little worm, despair." Wolf King used the 7 kill steps, leaving a shadow behind. Xia Fan could not see his real body at all. Slap. Suddenly, a tail came close to Xia Fan's face. Half of his face was smashed into a bloody mess. The severe pain made Xia Fan cry out in pain. Slap. Before he came to his senses, Wolf King's tail hit his buttocks again. His buttocks were also smashed and bleeding. Xia Fan suddenly stood up and covered his buttocks. He was in so much pain that he jumped and screamed. Yes, it's the 7 kill steps. It's only been 10 days. How could he have mastered it to the point of perfection? But even with the 7 kill steps, he can't be so powerful. Pan Wang was in disbelief. Little worm, Brother Wolf not only slapped Bitch Xia's face, but also you. What can you do to him? Chapter 229. Bastard. I'm going to skin you alive. Xia Fan was so angry that he rushed to Wolf King while enduring the pain. He clenched his fists and punched at Wolf King angrily. Wolf King ran away. His 2 legs were strong and strong. Little worm, come and catch me if you can. If you catch me, I'll skin you alive. While running, he looked back and provoked. His comical appearance amused Feng Ling, and the other girls, who were trembling with laughter. Bastard, don't run. Trash, come and catch me if you dare. The Wolf King happily ran in front of them. Xia Fan was chasing him angrily. A man and a wolf were running in circles on the high platform. The crowd looked at each other. What was going on? A battle should be like a battle. How could they run around like this? However, Pan Wang and the other people on the stage looked gloomy, even the other three tycoons. Because Wolf King was obviously teasing Xia Fan. Pan Wang shouted, "Xia Fan, admit defeat." If he didn't stop him, he would lose his face and his life. But Xia Fan turned a deaf ear. In his eyes, there was only Wolf King. He hated this abominable beast to the bone. He would never stop until he killed him. Haha, listen to me and admit defeat. You can't catch up with your grandpa Wolf. The Wolf King laughed sinisterly. If he is Xia Fan's grandpa, then he is Pan Wang's father. So you are the descendants of wolves? Jiang Jingyi looked at Pan Wang seriously and asked. Jia He and the others burst out laughing. Although this beast was hateful, its current behavior was indeed likable. However, they wanted to ask, is this the time to be funny? This is a competition. Can't you be serious? Pan Wang was angered by Jiang Jingyi's question. He roared, Qin Feiyang, if it dares to speak rudely again, don't blame me for being impolite. Qin Feiyang said, compared to Wolf King's nonsense, don't you think your despicable actions are more shameful? Pooh. Pan Wang was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. Qin Feiyang said with concern, Senior, you must take care of your body. If you accidentally kick the bucket, Pan County will lose one of its major characteristics. Specialty? Everyone looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, isn't his shamelessness one of Pan County's characteristics? Pooh. Pan Wang spat out another mouthful of blood. He angrily pointed at Qin Feiyang and said while gasping for breath, I'm just telling the truth. Qin Feiyang glanced at him indifferently. Everyone's face twitched. It seemed that Pan Wang would be angered to death today. Bastard! King Pan roared furiously. His voice was as loud as a bell, shaking the sky. Wolf King and Xia Fan were both startled. They stopped and looked at him in confusion. Die. Soon, Xia Fan came to his senses and attacked Wolf King again. I've had enough fun. It's time to send this guy to hell. Wolf King muttered in his heart. He suddenly turned around and used the 7 kill steps to attack Xia Fan. Xia Fan, no. The white-haired old man suddenly stood up. Everyone's eyes fell on the man and the wolf again. Xia Fan turned a deaf ear. He had lost his mind and couldn't listen at all. The man and the wolf met. Xia Fan didn't hold back. He threw out his left hand and punched at Wolf King. His eyes were full of killing intent. Ow! At the same time, Wolf King also howled and jumped up. He stepped on Xia Fan's fist and then on his head. Crack! Xia Fan's fist and head exploded one after another. Blood spurted out a few meters high. The sky and the earth were dyed red. When Wolf King fell to the ground, Xia Fan also fell to the ground and died on the spot. Fanner, brother, your highness. Pan Wang, Xia Qianqian and the guards around them screamed hysterically. Qin Feiyang hit the coffin with his palm. The coffin slid quickly and stopped not far away from Wolf King. Then, Qin Feiyang took a few steps and landed beside Xia Fan. He grabbed his ankle and threw him into the coffin as if he was throwing garbage. Actually, I prepared this coffin for him. I'll give it to you for free. Qin Feiyang kicked the coffin and it slid to the front of Pan Wang and Xia Qianqian. Fanner, Pan Wang stared at the body in the coffin. He felt like his heart was being stabbed by a knife. Not only was Xia Fan his son, but he was also his pride and hope. He had become a 5-star martial grandmaster before the age of 20. His future was limitless. He might even be able to enter the state capital and make a name for himself there. When that time came, his status would also rise. But all of this was in vain. Suddenly, he looked up and stared at Qin Feiyang and Wolf King. His eyes were bloodshot and he said word by word, "If I don't kill you, I'm not a man." As these words were spoken, the temperature in the area plummeted. It was as if winter had arrived, and countless people began to panic. What? Do you still want to attack us? In the end, you killed him with your own hands. If you didn't make a bet with me, we wouldn't have gotten the 7 kill steps. Without the 7 kill steps, Wolf King wouldn't have been able to kill Xia Fan even if he had broken through. Maybe you don't know that the 7 kill steps is not only an auxiliary martial skill, but also a killing martial skill. You asked for it. Who's to blame? Qin Feiyong sneered. If Pan Wang hadn't insisted on turning this friendly match into a life and death battle, none of this would have happened. Taking a step back, if Cheng Ming had shown mercy and spared the second prince's life, Zhang Jingyi wouldn't have allowed Wolf King to kill Xia Fan either. You won't die if you don't ask for it. This sentence wasn't without reason. It was I who killed him. Pan Wang's body trembled when he heard this. He lowered his head and looked at Xia Fan's body in the coffin. Endless resentment, anger, and regret surged in his heart. Puff. In the end, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted beside the coffin. Father. Xia Qianqian squatted on the ground and shook Pan Wang's body. Her pale face was filled with anxiety and panic. The white-haired elder sighed deeply and looked at the 5 guards beside him. Bring them back to the palace. The 5 guards nodded and walked behind Xia Qianqian. Princess, let's go back first. Xia Qianqian got up slowly. She looked up and glared at Qin Feiyong and Wolf King with hatred. Without saying a word, she turned around and walked toward the city gate. 4 of the 5 guards carried the coffin and 1 carried Pan Wang on his back. They followed behind Xia Qianqian. The crowd stepped back and made a path for them. Soon, Xia Qianqian and the others disappeared from everyone's sight. Whoosh! The gazes of the crowd fell on the man and the wolf in unison. Their eyes were filled with anger and murderous intent. Wolf King said telepathically, Little Qinzi, did you see bitch Xia's eyes? We can't let her live. Qin Feiyong nodded and said with concern, Can you do it? If you can't, you can go and rest. The Wolf King chuckled. Don't worry. After breaking through, Brother Wolf is full of vigor and vitality. Okay, you can continue. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed. He returned to the camp. As for the countless gazes around them, they ignored them. Next, the Wolf King stood in the middle of the field with an imposing aura. He was like the king of beasts that had descended into the world, looking down on everyone. The remaining people in Pan County didn't even dare to look at its eyes. His heart was filled with panic that couldn't be dispelled. The white-haired old man didn't hurry to draw lots. He whispered to the hall masters of Pan County's Marshal King Hall and Danwang Hall and discussed in a low voice. Zhang Zhengyi glanced at the 3 people and turned to Qin Feiyong. He asked, Is Wolf King okay? At first, he was worried that Wolf King was almost beaten to a pulp. Qin Feiyong smiled. If it says it's okay, then it's okay. It seems that we don't need to fight anymore. Feng Ling Air shook her head regretfully. It swept all the geniuses in Pan County. It's really in the limelight today. Zhao Shuang'er smiled. Her clear eyes were shining with a strange light. Back then, a man and a wolf struggled to survive in Iron Ox Town. Who would have thought that they would achieve what they had today? There was an old saying, you can't judge a book by its cover. Zhang Jingyi seemed to have thought of something. He suddenly asked, Qin Feiyong, didn't you say that 7 kill steps is not only an auxiliary martial technique, but also a killing martial technique? Qin Feiyong nodded. The eldest prince and the others couldn't help but gasp. It was the first time they had heard of a perfect martial technique that combined auxiliary and killing martial techniques. Zhang Jingyi also felt that it was a bit unbelievable. He shook his head and sighed. You guys got a good deal, but you have a grudge with Pan County's king. Be careful in the future. It's not a problem to protect ourselves. Qin Feiyong thought for a moment and said with a faint smile. Zhang Jingyi said, just don't be careless. Once this battle is over, I'll take you guys back to Yin County. Hearing this, Jia Hei's eyes suddenly flashed. Sigh. At this moment, the 3 leaders of Pan County let out a long sigh at the same time. Their faces were full of unwillingness. Zhang Jingyi turned his head and said, Are you guys done? Don't waste our time. Okay? The white-haired old man smiled bitterly. He stood up and said loudly, After our discussion, we have unanimously decided that the battle will end here. The winner is Yin County. Those who hadn't fought yet couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. The crowd below the stage also fell silent. No one objected, because the outcome was obvious. Even Xia Fan, who was known as the strongest person, was killed by the wolf's claws. How could the others be its match? It was meaningless to continue the battle. You admit defeat just like that? That's so boring. Wolf King complained unhappily. He hadn't had enough fun yet. However, this also proves that I'm too strong and powerful. Those bullshit geniuses are all scared out of their wits. It laughed mischievously and walked toward Qin Feiyong and the others with an air of arrogance. Brother Wolf fought against the heroes and made them tremble in fear. What are you guys doing there? Come and welcome Brother Wolf. Don't be mesmerized by Brother Wolf's handsome face, Wolf King said proudly. Jiang Jingyi and the others' faces twitched. Feng Ling Er and the other girls couldn't help but roll their eyes. Chapter 230. Wolf King had returned victorious. However, Pan County was utterly defeated. Although there was no need for them to fight, Guoli and the others were still embarrassed. In the past, they used to be the sun and were looked up to by others. But now, they did not even have the courage to fight. To them, it was a great humiliation. There was also a deep sense of helplessness. How could there be such a powerful wolf in the world? The more they thought about it, the angrier they became. The more they thought about it, the angrier they became. A young man could not hold back and said angrily, "Without that wolf, the county of Yin would have no chance of winning." Is that so? Feng Ling Er's face turned cold and her aura suddenly burst out. Like a mad tigress, she rushed toward the young man and punched him with the elephant fist. The man screamed and flew out. He was severely injured and passed out on the spot. Seeing that, Guoli and the others hurriedly retreated in panic. They could not believe it. The county of Yin was hiding such a powerful elite. 5-star martial grandmaster. The white-haired elder and the other two looked at each other. They could not hide the shock on their faces. They also thought that Wolf King was the most powerful, but they did not expect this girl to be so powerful. They then looked at Qin Feiyong and the others. Were there more powerful young people who did not fight? In fact, they were more interested in Qin Feiyong's strength. However, Qin Feiyong was not as high profile as Feng Ling Er. They were destined not to know. Feng Ling Er returned to the team. Although she had only fought once, her graceful figure, peerless appearance, and terrifying strength stunned everyone. At this moment, everyone present stopped underestimating the county of Yin. Phew! The white-haired elder let out a long breath and looked at Jiang Jingyi. According to the agreement of the competition, the county of Pan will give you 100 sets of herbs for the red fire glaze elixir and 20 sets of herbs for the potential elixir. Jiang Jingyi nodded, but the corners of his mouth pursed into a playful smile. Qin Feiyong also had a strange look in his eyes. The white-haired elder said, "I know all the herbs for the red fire glaze elixir, but I know nothing about the herbs for the potential elixir. I've already prepared it." Jiang Jingyi waved his hand and a list of items flew towards the white-haired elder. His smile was incomparably brilliant. The white-haired elder took the list and looked at Jiang Jingyi suspiciously. He then lowered his head and carefully looked at the medicinal herbs on the list. The smile on Jiang Jingyi's face made him feel very uncomfortable. However, he didn't think too much about it. He only thought that Jiang Jingyi was so happy because he had won the competition. The hall masters of the Martial King Hall and Danwang Hall of Pan County also quickly gathered around. To Pan Jun, the potential pill was just a legend. Now that the list had appeared, they naturally wouldn't miss such a good opportunity. So this is the medicinal ingredient for the potential pill. It actually requires 33 kinds of medicinal herbs. This is really unheard of. Where did this Qin Feiyong get the pill formula? The three of them had a strange look in their eyes and couldn't come back to their senses for a long time. We're in a hurry, so please hurry up and prepare. With that said, Jiang Jingyi got up and led Qin Feiyong's group towards the flower brothel. This time, we've lost not only the medicinal herbs, but also the face of Pan County. The white-haired elder sighed deeply and turned around to leave. The palace lords of the Martial King Hall and Pill Emperor Hall exchanged glances as their hearts were filled with helplessness. They then transformed into beams of light and vanished from the sight of the crowd. Guali and the others were so ashamed that they couldn't show their faces. They lowered their heads and silently left. Treasure Pavilion. Immediately count the medicinal herbs for the potential pill and scarlet fire glass pill in our treasury. As soon as the white-haired elder walked into the VIP room, he handed the inventory to Steward Wong and then half reclined on the chair, rubbing his forehead. He looked quite irritated. Did we lose? Steward Wong took the inventory and asked in disbelief. The white-haired elder nodded. Steward Wong was stunned for a moment, obviously unable to accept the fact. When he came back to his senses, he carefully checked the inventory. 9 Sun's flower, snow crystal, fire ginseng. These are the medicinal herbs for the potential pill. Looking at the names on the list, Steward Wong gradually fell into a daze. What's wrong? The white-haired elder put down his hand and looked at him in confusion. Pavilion Master, are you sure these are the medicinal herbs for the potential pill? Steward Wong asked carefully. Jiang Jingyi gave them to me. There shouldn't be any mistake. The white-haired elder said. Steward Wong's body trembled and his face turned pale. Is there a problem? The white-haired elder was puzzled. Steward Wong was usually very calm no matter what he faced. Why did he become so flustered when he saw the inventory? Steward Wong was about to cry. He didn't expect these medicinal herbs to be the medicinal herbs for the potential pill. Hurry up and say it. The white-haired elder said angrily and felt uneasy. Pavilion Master, I'm guilty. Steward Wong's gaze trembled, and he lowered his head with a face full of regret and self-blame. Are you going to say it or not? The white-haired old man slammed his palm on the armrest, blowing his beard and glaring. Pavilion Master, these medicinal herbs. Steward Wong didn't dare to say it. He was afraid that the Pavilion Master would be angry if he heard it. But paper couldn't wrap fire. He gritted his teeth and said in one breath, These medicinal herbs have been bought by someone. What? The white-haired elder stood up suddenly, his old face full of anger. He asked, Who bought them? It's a man and a woman. Steward Wong recalled carefully. With a wave of his hand, battle chi surged and 2 phantoms appeared in the void. Who are they? The white-haired elder frowned. Steward Wong said, I don't know either. I wanted to find out about their identity, but they mentioned the rules of Precious Treasure Pavilion, and I couldn't continue to find out. I only know that they are from Haiyun City. Bullshit. The white-haired elder was furious and shouted, Even I don't know what the medicinal herbs for the potential pill are? How would the people of Haiyun City know? Steward Wong's heart trembled and he bowed. I'm stupid. Pavilion Master, please punish me. I can't blame you for this. After all, you didn't know either. Those are the medicinal herbs for the potential pill. The white-haired elder waved his hand and returned to his seat. He pondered for a moment. He waved his hand and said, Immediately contact the Precious Treasure Pavilions in the major cities and ask them to organize the medicinal herbs and send them all to Panwang City. Yes. Steward Wong responded and quickly walked out of the VIP room. Who exactly is it? Jiang Jingyi or Qin Feiyang? The white-haired elder lowered his head and fell into deep thought. About a few hundred breaths passed. Bang! Steward Wong pushed the door open and rushed in. What happened again? The white-haired elder was shocked and looked up at him with dissatisfaction. Steward Wong said anxiously, Just now, I used the image crystal to contact the people in charge of the major cities. They said that all the medicinal herbs in the warehouse were swept clean by someone more than 10 days ago. How could this be? The white-haired elder was dumbfounded. All gone? Who the hell was so ruthless? Steward Wong said, It's a man and a woman. In just 3 days, they visited all the Precious Treasure Pavilions in Panwang City. A man and a woman. It must be them. The white-haired elder was furious. Who? Steward Wong was surprised. The 2 people around Qin Feiyang. No. With their strength, it's impossible for them to visit all the Precious Treasure Pavilions in 3 days. I understand. The white-haired elder suddenly stood up and said angrily, It must be Qin Feiyang and Jiang Jingyi working together. Because only Jiang Jingyi can be so fast. And only they know what the medicinal herbs for the potential pill are. These 2 despicable and shameless bastards. I'm going to settle the score with them. The white-haired elder was furious and was about to leave after saying that. Steward Wang hurriedly stopped him and shook his head. Pavilion Master, it's meaningless for you to settle the score with them now. This sentence was like a bucket of cold water splashed on the white-haired elder. He, who had almost lost his mind, quickly calmed down. That's right. They bought it with money and did it openly. What could he do if he went to look for them? Maybe Jiang Jingyi would even take the opportunity to make fun of him. I'll discuss with King Pan and the others. Hurry up and tell the people in charge of the major cities to speed up the search. 20 sets of medicinal herbs for the potential pill must be gathered no matter what. Otherwise, my Pan County will really become a joke. The white-haired old man said and then rushed out of the window. He had been frowning the whole time. Flower brothel. Inside the castle, Fatso was beaming with joy as he told Ling Yunfei about the glorious deeds of these days. After listening to him, Ling Yunfei's face twitched. He shook his head and said, "You guys are really ruthless. Not only did they loot the royal treasury, but they also swept away all the medicinal herbs in the major precious treasure pavilions. Were these guys bandits?" It was no wonder that Jiang Jingyi was smiling so brightly outside the city. The medicinal herbs in the various cities were gone. It would be as difficult as ascending to the sky for Pan County to gather 20 sets of medicinal herbs for the potential pill. By the way, do you know how the reward for winning this time is distributed? He looked at Qin Feiyang and the others in confusion. I'm not sure. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Fatso said, Fat Lord heard that Yin Nanshan and the others argued for an entire day in the Great Council Hall. Only they know the specific results. Why don't we ask Jiang Jingyi? Qin Feiyang said, Forget it. We're going back soon anyway. We'll know when the time comes. Do you want to find a chance to get rid of that bitch Xia? Wolf King's eyes flashed with an astonishing murderous light. Lu Hong said, I think it's best not to complicate matters. Fatso said, Yes, there are too many people in Panwang City who want to kill boss. If we lose our lives here because of Xia Qianqian, it's not worth it. After pondering for a while, Qin Feiyang nodded and said, Lu Hong and Fatso are right. After leaving Pan County, we won't have any more interactions with her. It doesn't matter if we kill her or not. Dong. At this moment, a series of knocks came into the castle. Qin Feiyang appeared in the tea room with a few people and Wolf King. He said lightly, Please come in. The door opened, and the eldest prince and the third prince entered the room one after the other. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Your Highnesses, is there anything I can help you with? The eldest prince said, We're here to thank Wolf King and tell you something. Qin Feiyang stood up and said, There's no need to thank us. After all, we're all from Yin County. I'm sorry for the death of the second prince. The eldest prince forced a smile and turned to the third prince and nodded. The third prince understood and turned to close the door. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other, their eyes full of doubts. Chapter 231. Qin Feiyang said, Lu Hong, go and close the window. Lu Hong walked to the window, glanced outside, and closed the window. After a quick glance, she found a few peddlers on the street looking at the window. And on a roof not far away, there were two figures lurking. She turned back to Qin Feiyang and whispered, The people who are watching us haven't left yet. Ignore them. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and looked at the two princes, asking, What do you want to talk about? The first prince whispered, The day before yesterday, when I was chatting with Ancestor Lin, he accidentally said that Jia He often went out alone recently. That's not strange, right? Qin Feiyang frowned. It was Jia He's first time in Panking City. It was normal for him to go out for a stroll. The first prince said, If that's the case, of course there's no problem. But every time he goes out, he's mysterious and chooses when there's no one around. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and asked, Are you sure? The first prince nodded and said, I'm sure. Ancestor Lin saw that his behavior was a little strange. One day, he went to follow him and found that he actually left the city. Left the city? Qin Feiyang frowned. If he was just strolling in the city, there was nothing wrong. But if he went out of the city, it was indeed a little strange. Because he was unfamiliar with the place. Why did Jiahe go out of the city? The first prince smiled and said, "That's all I know. I don't know if it's useful to you." "It's very useful. Thank you, Your Highness." Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and smiled. The first prince said, "It's fine. I just hope that my good intentions can ease the relationship between us." Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "Let's not talk about the past. Today, let's be friends and take care of each other." The first prince was overjoyed and sighed. "Brother Qin is really a magnanimous person. I admire you." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and said, "Your Highness' magnanimity is also incomparable to ordinary people." After ruining his wedding and embarrassing him in front of everyone, he still took the initiative to show his goodwill. This kind of behavior was not something an ordinary person could do. After exchanging some pleasantries, the first prince and the third prince took their leave. Qin Feiyong was also lost in thought. Back then, the impostor had entered the Danwang Hall. Right now, Jiahe's whereabouts were a mystery. Could it be that the fake patriarch Lin was Jiahe in disguise? Was Jiahe really from the Bloodslaughter Palace? If that was the case, who was the other person? His head hurt. This matter was intertwined and complicated, but he couldn't find any key clues. He also didn't know how to proceed from there. He looked at Fatso and Lu Hong and said in a low voice, "Now, your main task is to keep an eye on Jiahe." "How? He's a battle emperor." Fatso's face turned pale. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "I believe that you will have a way." Fatso rolled his eyes and began to ponder. "I'm going back to my room to cultivate. Call me if you need anything." Ling Yunfei said and strode out of the room. Originally, he had broken through to a 2-star martial grandmaster in such a short time. But after seeing the strength of Xia Fan and Feng Ling Er, he knew that it was far from enough. Although he was only 16 years old, Feng Ling Er was almost 19, and Xia Fan was almost 20, he still felt that he was inferior to others. In other words, he was not convinced. Qin Feiyong and Wolf King also entered the state of cultivation. It was a race against time. After a while, Lu Hong asked, "Fatso, have you thought of it?" Fatso rolled his eyes and said with a sneaky smile, "Yes, but you may have to suffer." Lu Hong said, "Just say it." Fatso smiled and said, "Let's change our appearance and apply for a job at the flower brothel." Lu Hong frowned and said, "Is that necessary? Why don't you just change your appearance and watch outside the flower brothel every day?" "No, Jiahe is an old fox. After a long time, he will definitely notice. But if we become the flower brothel's staff, we don't need to hide anything. We can directly monitor him openly," Fatso said with a sneaky smile. Lu Hong thought for a while and nodded. "It seems to make sense, but the flower brothel may not accept us." Fatso said, "That's easy. Money makes the world go round. As long as you are not afraid of being wronged, we will immediately act." Lu Hong did not think about it and said with a smile, "Well, whatever you say, we will do it." "Boss, we have to go." Fatso said his goodbyes and quickly left with Lu Hong. Wolf King said telepathically, "Little Qin Zi, it was a wise decision to keep Fatso by your side. When we return to the capital, he will be of great help." Qin Feiyong smiled. Although Fatso's talent in martial arts and alchemy wasn't very good, he had a flexible mind. What he lacked was this kind of talent, but Lu Hong still needed to train. Because in a place like the capital, if you don't have a brain, you will only become someone's chess piece. Early the next morning, Panjun's 4 supergiants put down their face and personally came to the flower brothel to discuss with Jiang Zhengyi. The matter of discussion was nothing more than the herbs for the potential pill. After being swept clean by Jiang Zhengyi and Qin Feiyong, Panjun really couldn't gather 20 sets of medicinal ingredients for the potential pill. He wanted to ask if he could change it to something else. But Jiang Zhengyi flatly refused, leaving no room for negotiation. What a joke. What was more precious than the potential pill? After being rebuffed, the 4 supergiants were furious and personally led their men to carry out a carpet search of Panjun's land. It was better to rely on oneself than on others. They had almost turned Pan County upside down. Half a month passed. They had gathered 15 sets of herbs, but they were still short of 5 sets. The 4 supergiants had no choice but to beg Jiang Zhengyi again. After a lot of persuasion, Jiang Jingyi finally agreed to use 50 sets of red fire glass pills herbs instead. After receiving all the herbs, Jiang Jingyi informed Qin Feiyang and the others to gather and return to Yin City immediately. Boom. In the room, after half a month of hard work, Qin Feiyang broke through again. He reached the 4-star martial ancestor realm. He was quite excited. At this speed, in less than a year, he would be able to activate his battle soul and step into the Battle King realm. However, he did not immediately go down to gather, as if he was waiting for something. Lobby. Seeing that everyone had already come down except for Qin Feiyang, Jia He could not help but be furious and said, "Every time he makes people wait, does he really think of himself as someone important? Although he's not a big shot, his current status in the Yin County is not lower than yours." Ling Yunfei said indifferently, "Do you have the right to speak here?" Jia He raised his eyebrows. "With Pavilion Master Jiang here, you don't have the right to speak. What are you complaining about?" Ling Yunfei was fearless as he confronted him. "You." Jia He gritted his teeth. "My lords, please stop arguing. I will help you call young Master Qin down." "Yes, yes, yes. Arguing is too hurtful." A slightly plump shop assistant and an ordinary-looking woman hurriedly ran out from the back hall to smooth things over. "Go quickly," Jia He shouted. "Yes, yes, yes." The man and woman nodded and bowed as they hurriedly ran to the second floor. Arriving in front of Qin Feiyang's door, the slightly plump shop assistant knocked on the door, then pushed it open and walked in. "Jia He is throwing a tantrum downstairs again?" Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them and asked, "Don't you know what that old thing's like?" The slightly plump shop assistant's face was filled with disdain. Next, a man and a woman took out a facial restoration pill, and their appearances quickly changed. If it wasn't Fatso and Lu Hong, who else could it be? Qin Feiyang asked, "Have you found anything in this half a month?" "No." Lu Hong shook her head. It was said that during this period of time, Jia He did not leave the house and was extremely obedient. "Thank you for your hard work. Go to the castle to rest first." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the two of them into the castle. Immediately, together with Wolf King, they went out, turned right, and walked down the stairs. They apologized. "I was at the critical moment of breaking through, so I was delayed. I'm really sorry." Breakthrough? Jiang Jingyi and the others were shocked. Feng Ling Air said in surprise, "So, you are already a 4-star martial grandmaster?" Qin Feiyang nodded. Gasp. Everyone gasped. They shouted in their hearts, "Abnormal." Feng Ling Air couldn't accept it the most. When she took the supreme grade red fire glaze pill and broke through to 5-star martial grandmaster, Qin Feiyang was only an 8-star martial grandmaster. But how long had it been? He was only one step away from catching up with her. However, everyone present knew that although Qin Feiyang was talented, the biggest reason was that he had opened the second level of the Gate of Potential. So, at this moment, everyone had an unprecedented desire for the potential pill. However, Jia He's old eyes flashed with a fierce light. The others were shocked by Qin Feiyang's cultivation speed and didn't notice, but Qin Feiyang had been secretly watching him, so he clearly saw it. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but be vigilant. As long as this kid is given enough time, he will definitely surpass us old guys in the future. It's really exciting. Jiang Jingyi muttered secretly. Then, he waved his big sleeve, rolled up everyone, turned into a stream of light and rushed out of the flower brothel, then rushed into the sky and flew in the direction of the city gate. They are finally gone. Seeing this, the pedestrians on the street couldn't help but let out a long breath. But just as the group of people flew over the city wall, a loud voice came from behind. "Qin Feiyang, wait a moment." An old man, the hall master of the Martial King Hall and the Danwang Hall of Pan County, cut through the sky and quickly caught up. "What? Want to snatch people?" Seeing the three of them, Jiang Jingyi's eyes were filled with hostility. "If we really wanted to snatch people, we would have done it long ago." The white-haired old man snorted and looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. "Little brother, think about it again. As long as you are willing to stay in Pan County, the three forces will provide you with resources." The hall masters of the Martial King Hall and the Danwang Hall nodded. Jiang Jingyi frowned. The pupils of the first prince and the others also contracted. The three major forces were jointly providing resources. This kind of treatment was truly a great temptation. As long as Qin Feiyang agreed, his status in Pan County would be even higher than in the Yin County. These three were really willing to pay a big price. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, then cupped his hands and said with a smile, although there's an old saying, man walks to the top while water flows to the bottom, but in Junior's opinion, one cannot forget one's roots. So, Junior can only apologize and thank seniors for their great kindness. Zhang Zhengyi's furrowed brows immediately relaxed. He waved his hand and disappeared into the sky with Qin Feiyang and the others. The three superlords were disappointed. Chapter 232. After the white-haired old man and the other two left, another golden figure came to the sky above the city gate. It was the muscular man in golden armor. Even if I have to chase you to the county of Yin, I will kill you. His eyes flashed with an astonishing cold light. Whoosh! Immediately, he turned into a divine rainbow and broke through the sky. At the same time, above the palace, King Pan stood against the wind, looking in the direction of the city gate. The hatred of my son's death is irreconcilable. Commander, don't let me down, he muttered in a low voice, his face almost twisted out of shape. Half an hour passed. Two streams of light entered the Swallow Pan mountain range one after the other. Zhang Zhengyi smiled and said, although most of the people didn't fight this time, the overall performance was very good. When we return to the county of Yin, we will reward you handsomely. The group of people suddenly became excited. This reward would definitely be a potential pill. It's too early to be happy, Jia He muttered in his heart, a cold light flashing across his eyes. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. At this point, he was already 100% sure that Jia He had it. Qin Feiyang said secretly, White-eyed wolf, use your mind to tell Zhang Zhengyi to be wary of Jia He. Wolf King glanced at Jia He without leaving a trace and said, Old Zhang, be careful of Jia He. Little Qin Zi said that he has evil intentions. Zhang Zhengyi, who was at the front, raised his eyebrows slightly. He didn't say anything and continued to move forward. Although there was no evidence, he still listened to Qin Feiyang's advice. After all, one had to be vigilant. 3 days later, the group was about to enter the central area of the Swallow Pan mountain range. The strength of the fierce beasts below was comparable to that of a martial ancestor. There were even some fierce beasts that were comparable to the War King. If Qin Feiyang and the others entered the mountain range below alone, they would definitely die. Therefore, although there were 3 war emperors, the group of young people couldn't help but feel a little nervous. And at this point, the cold light in Jia He's eyes became more and more shocking. However, each time, it was just a flash. If one didn't pay special attention, they wouldn't be able to detect it at all. At this moment, the scorching sun was high in the sky. Another half an hour later, a towering mountain peak entered the line of sight of the group. Zhang Zhengyi, how have you been since we last met? Just as the group was about to fly past the huge peak, a sinister laugh came from the top of the mountain. This voice, it's Zhang Zhengyi's expression suddenly changed. Qin Feiyang and the others also turned pale with fright. Whoosh! A black shadow swooped down from the peak of the mountain and stood in front of everyone. Who else could it be but Zhuan? That pair of oily green eyes seemed to contain a terrifying magical power that could suck in a person's mind. Everyone present felt a chill run down their spines. Zhang Zhengyi shielded everyone behind him and said gloomily, Why are you here? Of course it's for him. Zhuan looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a sinister smile, Boy, I've thought about it for a long time and I've decided to agree to your proposal last time. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, I won't wait for you if you're late. Don't be so unreasonable. You have the skill of alchemy and I have extraordinary strength. If we work together, what's there to worry about? As long as you agree, I'll give you the Nether Devil Flame. Furthermore, as for those people around you, I guarantee that I will let them go. But if you don't know what's good for you, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Zhuan laughed sinisterly. Arrogant. Jia He shouted angrily and landed beside Jiang Zhengyi. He said to Zuoren, "Who do you think you are? How dare you snatch people in front of us?" Qin Feiyang frowned. When did Jia He become so kind? Something's not right. Qin Feiyang's pupils suddenly shrank. He found that Jia He's hand was slowly moving without leaving a trace. Oh no, he's going to plot against Jiang Zhengyi. Wolf King secretly shouted and reminded him with telepathy, "Pavilion Master, be careful." At the same time, Jia He's palm surged with battle chi and slapped toward Jiang Zhengyi's back. A cruel smile crawled up his old face. However, he thought it was flawless, but he didn't know that it had been exposed. Humph! Jiang Zhengyi snorted coldly. His big hand reached out like lightning. He grabbed Jia He's wrist and abruptly turned his head to look at Jia He. His eyes shone with intense cold light as he said, "You really do harbor evil intentions." Jia He was stunned. The smile on his face froze in an instant and was replaced by disbelief. Luo Qingzhu, Ling Yunfei, and the others were also caught off guard by this sudden scene. Jia He actually plotted against Jiang Zhengyi? What was going on? At the same time, on the opposite side, Zuoren's eyes couldn't help but sink. Pavilion Master Jiang, this is a misunderstanding. I'm accumulating power to kill Zuoren when he least expects it. After Jia He came back to his senses, he hurriedly explained, "You?" Zuoren's eyes were full of disdain. "Even an ant can move an elephant. Why are you so arrogant?" Jia He shouted angrily with a stern expression, "Stop acting, you guys." Jiang Zhengyi sneered and looked at Qin Feiyang. "Qin Feiyang has already seen through your true colors. At first, I didn't believe it, but I didn't expect it to be true. This little bastard, he really deserves to die." A monstrous anger rose in Jia He's heart, but the expression on his face was panic. He shook his head and said, "Pavilion Master Jiang, this is really a misunderstanding. Qin Feiyang made up such a lie because he hates me." At this moment, Patriarch Lin stepped in front of Jiang Zhengyi and said, "Pavilion Master Jiang, although Elder Jia is a little narrow-minded, he definitely doesn't have the guts to collude with Zuoren. Perhaps this is really just a misunderstanding." Jia He nodded repeatedly and said, "That's right, that's right. Zuoren is extremely vicious and evil. Everyone has the right to kill him. How can I collude with him?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. With Patriarch Lin's eyesight, it was impossible for him not to see that Jia He wanted to assassinate Jiang Zhengyi. But why did he speak up for Jia He now? Patriarch Lin said again, "This is not a child's play. Pavilion Master Jiang, please think twice." But before his voice died away, he suddenly stretched out his arm, the battle chi in his palm surging, and slammed his palm towards Jiang Zhengyi's chest. At the same time, Jia He also smiled ferociously. He raised his other arm and blasted towards Jiang Zhengyi's head. Moreover, Zuoren, who had been indifferent, also charged towards Jiang Zhengyi at lightning speed. "Pavilion Master, be careful." Qin Feiyang's expression changed abruptly. He rushed forward without hesitation. His left hand turned into an eagle's claw and grabbed Patriarch Lin's wrist. However, he had just grabbed it. That terrifying battle chi instantly shattered his arm and sent him flying. The intense pain caused his face to contort, and he could not help but let out a painful scream. But his heart was filled with disbelief. Why was Patriarch Lin colluding with Zuoren? All of this, everything happened in the blink of an eye. No one had expected such a scene to occur, including Jiang Zhengyi. He was stunned at first, but when he heard Qin Feiyang scream, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted like a volcano. But it was still a step too late. Just at the moment when he was stunned, Jia He punched his temple. Old Ancestor Lin also slammed a palm on his chest. The battle chi directly shattered his clothes. The skin on his chest was torn open, and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. His temple was also badly mutilated. His head was buzzing, and he was dizzy. Then, Zuoren also attacked. He slammed his palm on Jiang Zhengyi's back. The battle chi was like an arrow, piercing through Jiang Zhengyi's body. A bloody hole the size of a fist appeared in the middle of his body. "Father, Pavilion Master." Luo Qingzhu, Ling Yunfei and the others shouted. Their faces were as pale as paper. What was going on? Why was Patriarch Lin colluding with Zuoren? Jia He and Patriarch Lin's strength were too weak compared to Jiang Zhengyi's. They could not cause fatal injuries to him. But Zuoren was an 8-star combat emperor, and it was a sneak attack. This attack almost took his life. However, Jiang Zhengyi did not even make a sound. His eyes were gloomy. He did not fight with the three of them. He swept up Wolf King, Luo Qingzhu and the others, turned into a ray of light, and chased after Qin Feiyong without looking back. Jiang Zhengyi, you are already an arrow at the end of its flight. Let's see where you can escape to. Zuoren grinned and quickly chased after him. The good show is yet to come. Jia He and Patriarch Lin looked at each other, sneered, and followed closely. Qin Feiyong could not control his body at all. His consciousness was also being swallowed by the darkness. In fact, he couldn't even think about it. In front of him, there was a giant mountain that was thousands of feet high. If he crashed into it, he would definitely die today. But at this moment, Jiang Zhengyi caught up and grabbed Qin Feiyong's right arm, shouting, "Qin Feiyong, you can't faint now, wake up." His voice was like a bell, drilling into Qin Feiyong's ears. Qin Feiyong quivered and quickly woke up. When he saw the bloody hole in Jiang Zhengyi's chest, his face suddenly changed. He did not dare to hesitate at all. He was ready to take everyone to hide in the castle. But the situation changed again. The eldest prince suddenly reached out and grabbed Qin Feiyong. No one knew when. A dagger appeared in his hand, and he quickly placed it on Qin Feiyong's neck, shouting, "If you dare to enter the castle, I will kill you immediately." And at the same time, Lin Hao also made a move. He hugged Luo Qingzhu, and there was also a dagger in his hand, in front of Luo Qingzhu's throat. He looked at Jiang Zhengyi and said sternly, "Stop, or I will kill her." Zhao Shuang, and the others were surprised, including Wolf King. 1 or 2 mutations were still acceptable to them. Yet now, one sudden change after another was occurring non-stop. Even Qin Feiyong's mind was in a complete mess. Jiang Zhengyi stopped in the void, and his face became paler. His aura was also rapidly weakening. Swish! Zuoren and the other two caught up and surrounded the group of people in the center. "Jiang Zhengyi, you didn't expect to fall into my hands today, right?" Zuoren laughed sinisterly. Jiang Zhengyi's heart sank. His gaze swept over Zuan, Jia He, and old ancestor Lin one by one. Finally, his gaze stopped on the eldest prince and Lin Hao. The eldest prince smiled and said, "Pavilion Master Jiang, I'm sorry. All of this was forced by Qin Feiyong. I actually didn't want to do this." Jiang Zhengyi said gloomily, "Your father has also joined forces with Zuoren?" The eldest prince shook his head and said, "No, no, no. My father doesn't know about this. Even my third brother only knows about it now." The third prince, Wei Tai, trembled and said, "Eldest brother, why did you do this? Do you know that if my father knows that you have joined Zuan, the consequences will be very serious?" "Shut up. You'll be the first one I kill later." The eldest prince smiled cruelly. Wei Tai's face was pale. Chapter 233. Fine. If you don't mind, why don't you explain to me why Ancestor Lin is Zuan's accomplice? Who was the imposter that Wolf King and I found? Qin Feiyong asked. "It's me." Jia He sneered. "It's really you." Qin Feiyong's eyes widened in confusion. "But why did you pretend to be him?" "The reason is simple. I wanted to frame Ancestor Lin. You caught Shancheng alive and learned from him that 2 combat emperors had joined the Blood Slaughter Palace. When we received the news, we knew that you would be able to find us step by step, so we came up with a plan. I pretended to be Ancestor Lin and pushed the blame to him." Jia He sneered. Qin Feiyong frowned. "Aren't you in cahoots? Why do you want to frame him? Who told you that he's in cahoots with us? He had nothing to do with us before we left the county of Yin. It was in King Pan City that he finally agreed to join the Blood Slaughter Palace after I persuaded him. The first prince was also persuaded by me in King Pan City." Jia He sneered. "What? So there's another combat emperor hiding in the county of Yin? Who is he?" Qin Feiyong was puzzled. "Well, I can't tell you for now." Jia He sneered. It seems that you purposely let Wolf King find out. Were you the one who shot the arrow in the dark that night and killed that middle-aged man right under Elder Ji in my eyes? Qin Feiyong frowned. That's right. I killed him. As for Wolf King, he's been wandering around the county of Yin all day. I could use him. But I didn't expect that you would ask Steward Li to follow me and find out that I entered the Danwang Hall. Not only did the framing plan fail, but it also almost exposed my identity. Since then, I've been on tenterhooks all day long, afraid that you'll catch me. I have to admit, you're really smart. Jia He was full of praise. His praise was sincere. It was the first time in his life that he had met such a terrifying young man. Who? Qin Feiyong let out a long sigh of relief. Even without Jia He's explanation, he had already figured it out. On the day that the friendly competition ended, the Crown Prince went to find him and told him that old ancestor Lin found something wrong with Jia He. Actually, he was trying to distract him so that he would ignore old ancestor Lin. This way, even if Jia He failed to assassinate Zhang Jingyi, he still had Patriarch Lin as a backup. He raised his head to look at Zuan and asked, "You're the palace master of the Blood Slaughter Palace, right?" "That's right." Zuan nodded and said, "As long as you're willing to join the Blood Slaughter Palace, not only will I let Zhang Jingyi and the others go, I'll even make you the young palace master. What do you think?" As soon as Zuan admitted it, all of this could be explained. The assassination of Fatso and Lu Hong, and the capture of Lin Yi by Shinchong and Lin Chong, in fact, only had one ultimate goal, which was to target Qin Feiyong. Don't treat me like a 3-year-old child. Even if I join the Blood Slaughter Palace, you won't let them go. Qin Feiyong sneered. You're such a smart fool. I like you more and more. Yes, I won't let Zhang Jingyi go. But those little beauties beside you, I'll give them all to you as wives. It's normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Zoran laughed lewdly. Luo Qingzhu and the other women's faces turned cold. Shui Yang's eyes turned, and he bowed to Jia He, Master. Please let this disciple join the Blood Slaughter Palace. This disciple is also willing to serve the Blood Slaughter Palace. And me. Wang Xia and Xia Feng also knelt in the void. Zhao Shuang'er said in disgust, greedy and afraid of death. How disgusting. The eldest prince smiled. Miss Shuang'er, you're wrong. This is called adapting to the circumstances. He then looked at Lin Hua and asked, are you willing to join the Blood Slaughter Palace? Of course. Lin Hua didn't say anything. He knelt to Zuan and said respectfully, this disciple will be loyal. Please take me in, Palace Master. Haha. Zuan laughed proudly, glanced at Lin Hua and Shuiyang and nodded. Well, from now on, you are a member of the Blood Slaughter Palace. Thank you, Palace Master. The few of them bowed respectfully and respectfully. Qin Feiyong's face was as dark as water. Do these people even have any dignity? They are the pride of the county of Yin. How can they be so spineless? Now, only Zhang Jingyi, Ling Yunfei, Luo Qingzhu, Zhao Shuang'er, Feng Ling Wolf King, and the third prince, Wei Tai, were left. Wei Tai was also struggling. Qin Feiyong had also noticed. But even if Wei Tai chose to join the Blood Slaughter Palace, he couldn't stop him. He looked at great ancestor Lin, the first prince, and Jia He, and said, what did Zuan offer to make you take such a big risk to join the Blood Slaughter Palace? It's none of your business. The first prince sneered. Qin Feiyong said, indeed, it's none of my business. But everything you have done now should have been reported back to the county of Yin. The first prince immediately frowned. Qin Feiyong said, don't forget that Lu Hong and Fatso are in my castle. They can hear everything that happens outside. They have also established a contract with Steward Li. The first prince and the others paled and looked at Zuan for help. Don't panic. Zuan lowered his head and pondered for a moment. Then, he grinned. Qin Feiyong, you are a tough nut to crack. We tried our best to fool you. But if you all die here, we will have the final say when we return to the county of Yin. Good idea. The first prince and the others smiled brightly. By then, they could turn the tables and say that Qin Feiyong and the others framed them. Wei Tai's face paled. He quickly looked at Zuan and said, Palace Lord, I want to join the Blood Slaughter Palace too. Please take me in. Zuan said, you have to ask your elder brother. If he agrees, I will agree. Wei Tai looked at the first prince and begged, elder brother, for the sake of our brotherhood, please show mercy. Haha. Oh, Wei Tai, don't make it sound so nice. Do you think I don't know that you have always wanted to get rid of me and become the next king of Yin? Do you think I will keep someone like you around? The first prince sneered. The murderous intent in his eyes was undisguised. Wei Tai shuddered. The first prince said coldly, Patriarch Lin, kill him for me. All right. Patriarch Lin smiled coldly. A ray of battle chi flashed past and pierced Wei Tai's head. Wei Tai died on the spot. Haha. At this moment, Jiang Jingyi raised his head to the sky and laughed maniacally. There was a kind of helplessness that came from an ambitious and ruthless person past his prime. Suddenly, his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He waved his hand and several rays of battle chi shot toward Qin Feiyang and the others. Puff! The battle chi was like a cold arrow that mercilessly pierced Qin Feiyang and the others' chests, including Luo Qingzhu. Suddenly, blood splattered across the sky. Ah! The few of them screamed, and their pupils dilated. Everything happened so suddenly that even Zhuan could not react in time. The first prince and Lin Hao, who were holding Qin Feiyang and Luo Qingzhu hostage, were not spared either. The battle chi pierced through their bodies and left a thumb-sized bloody hole on their shoulder. Both of them were stunned. Was Jiang Jingyi crazy? He actually killed Qin Feiyang and the others with his own hands? Even his most beloved daughter? They are going to die anyway. Rather than being killed by you, I might as well kill them myself. Zhuan, aren't you trying so hard to get Qin Feiyang to refine the potential pill for you? Now that your hope has been shattered, you must be furious, right? Jiang Jingyi looked at the gloomy Zhuan, his eyes filled with madness. Boom. Zhuan was furious. The aura of an 8-star combat emperor burst out from his body. At the same time, Jiang Jingyi stood up and unleashed his full power. Roar! Behind him, a huge beast shadow appeared. It was a giant golden tiger with a ferocious aura. It was his battle soul. Kill! Jiang Jingyi pointed a finger at Zhuan. The giant tiger roared and pounced on Zhuan ferociously. How dare you spoil my plan? I will send you to hell now. Zhuan was filled with rage. Hiss! With a sharp hiss, a beast shadow appeared behind him. It was a giant black python. Its cold snake eyes emitted a terrifying green light as it charged towards the giant golden tiger with a ferocious aura. Jia He and Patriarch Lin's expression changed. They hurriedly brought the first prince and the others away. Boom! The two battle souls collided with each other. The giant golden tiger let out a wail and collapsed. Jiang Jingyi's face turned pale as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Like a meteorite, he shot toward the mountain range below with the bodies of Qin Feiyang and the others. Along with a loud bang, a mountain peak that was a few hundred feet high was smashed into pieces by Jiang Jingyi. Dust billowed and covered the sky. A giant crater was formed on the ground. Jiang Jingyi was lying at the bottom of the sky, his body covered in blood. However, Qin Feiyang and the others were lying in the void with a golden battle chi barrier protecting them. Jiang Jingyi struggled to get up and looked at Luo Qingzhu. A kind smile appeared on his blood-stained face as he whispered, "My child, you must live well." Then, he tore off the clothes on his body and used his blood to write shocking words on them. He took off his chinquin bag and put the clothes into it. Then, he stuffed the chinquin bag into Qin Feiyang's arms. Then, he waved his hand and Qin Feiyang and the others fell into the deep pit. He waved his sleeves again and a few pieces of gravel flew over and piled up around Qin Feiyang and the others. Then, the soil rolled and quickly buried Qin Feiyang and the others. The thick smoke blocked Zhuan's vision, so he did not see any of this. In the blink of an eye, after doing all this, Jiang Jingyi turned into a stream of light and rushed out of the dust alone. He roared angrily, "Zhuan, Jia He, Patriarch Lin, even if I die today, I will kill you and bury you with Qingzhu and the others." He raised his hand, and a golden battle chi rushed towards Zhuan and the others like a torrent. At this moment, the sky was dyed golden. "Even the four of you old dogs couldn't do anything to me, let alone you alone." Zhuan smiled disdainfully. He rushed up and fought with Jiang Zhengyi crazily. For a moment, the murderous aura in this place surged into the sky, and the sky darkened. Patriarch Lin and Jia He took the eldest prince and the others and retreated again and again. The battle lasted for about 100 breaths. One day, you will suffer retribution, Jiang Zhengyi roared unwillingly. Zuan punched him in the chest, and he shot into the mountain below like a cannonball. Boom! Chapter 234. The mountains collapsed and the earth was shattered. Jiang Zhengyi did not appear again. Jia He and the others came to Zuan's side and looked down nervously. Patriarch Lin asked uneasily, "Is he dead?" Zuan sneered. "He was seriously injured when we ambushed him at the beginning. I punched him in the chest with all my strength. His heart must have been shattered. He's dead for sure." Jia He and the others heaved a long sigh of relief. Zuan sighed, "But it's a pity that Qin Feiyang is dead. No one can refine the potential pill anymore." The eldest prince said, "That may be the case, but we'll have one less problem as long as he's dead." "You're right. If we wait for him to grow, I'm afraid that even I will be defeated by him. But the treasure he's hiding in is good stuff. Let's go down and look for his body. By the way, who has the herbs for the potential pill and crimson fire glazed pill that we won from Pan County?" Zuan asked. "Jiang Zhengyi," Patriarch Lin said. Zuan said, "All right, you guys go and look for Jiang Zhengyi's body. I'll look for Qin Feiyang's body." Whoosh! However, at this moment, a battle chi appeared out of thin air and pierced through Zuan's right shoulder at lightning speed. "What's going on?" They were shocked. "Who is it? Get the hell out here." Zuan looked at the wound on his shoulder in disbelief and roared. Whoosh! Another battle chi appeared and pierced through the sky at lightning speed. It pierced through Zuan's left shoulder and blood splattered everywhere. "That's fast." Zuan was shocked. He did not even have time to dodge. Who was the expert that attacked him secretly? "Let's go." Zuan waved his hand and swept up Patriarch Lin and the others. They fled in a panic without looking back. At the same time, on the other side of a giant mountain, the brawny man in golden armor was also shocked. He had been hiding here and witnessed the entire process. He was delighted with Qin Feiyang's death. However, he was extremely shocked by the mysterious person who injured Zuan Swish. Just as he was feeling bewildered, another stream of battle chi appeared out of nowhere and instantly pierced through his arm. Were we discovered? Who is it that possesses such astonishing strength? He didn't dare to stay any longer, and with a head full of doubts, he turned around and fled. This place quickly quieted down. Until the end, a deathly silence ensued. Whoosh! Suddenly, a white figure appeared above the mountain range. He was an old man with mottled white hair. He wore linen clothes and looked extremely ordinary. However, the moment he appeared, the nearby ferocious beasts immediately trembled in fear. He did not say a single word. The aged hand reached out and grabbed at the air. Jiang Zhengyi flew out from the ground and landed in front of the white-haired old man. The current Jiang Zhengyi was riddled with wounds. On his chest, there was a huge bloody hole that penetrated from the front to the back, and blood kept flowing out. His entire body was devoid of aura. He was obviously a dead man. "Since you're an upright person, this old man will save your life," the white-haired old man whispered. With a flip of his hand, a red elixir appeared. There was a dragon-shaped elixir on it. After Jiang Zhengyi took the elixir, the bloody hole on his chest began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than 10 breaths, a trace of vitality appeared on Jiang Zhengyi's body. Heartbeat and breathing appeared at the same time. He came back from the dead. If Qin Feiyang saw this scene, he would definitely be stunned. This was a real divine elixir. Moreover, in less than 50 breaths, Jiang Zhengyi, who was already dead, opened his eyes again. "I'm not dead." Jiang Zhengyi looked around in confusion. His face was full of suspicion. "Yes, you're not dead." The white-haired old man smiled faintly. "Who are you?" Jiang Zhengyi was shocked and hurriedly became vigilant. The white-haired old man said, "This old man is Qin Yuan." "What? Qin Yuan?" Jiang Zhengyi looked at the old man in surprise. He couldn't believe it. Wasn't Qin Yuan Qin Fei Yang's uncle? He had always been very curious about this mysterious old man. Now that he saw the real person, the shock he gave him was simply indescribable. He was very clear about his previous situation. He would definitely die. But Qin Yuan forcefully pulled him back from the gates of hell. Who exactly was this person? What shocking background did Qin Feiyang have? Uncle Yuan smiled and said, "You don't have to be too grateful to me. I saved you because you and Luo Qianxue treated Feiyang quite well." Jiang Jingyi was puzzled. "You should have been secretly paying attention to Qin Feiyang, but why did you wait until now to come out?" Uncle Yuan shook his head and said, "This is the path he has to take. I don't want to interfere." Jiang Jingyi couldn't help but ask, "Who exactly is Qin Feiyang?" "It's better if you don't know." Uncle Yuan waved his old hand, and a gust of wind rose. The dust and smoke below quickly dispersed. Shua! With a flash, he landed beside the sinkhole where Qin Feiyang and the others were buried. Following that, with a wave of his hand, the soil and gravel were instantly annihilated. Qin Feiyang and the others were exposed. Jiang Jingyi landed beside Uncle Yuan and was about to say something. "Sure." Uncle Yuan made a shushing gesture. With a wave of his hand, a supreme force appeared and enveloped Qin Feiyang. "What is this for?" Jiang Jingyi was puzzled. "I don't want Lu Hong and the others in the castle to hear what we are going to talk about," Uncle Yuan said. Jiang Jingyi frowned and didn't ask much, explaining, "I didn't kill them just now. The battle chi only passed by their hearts and didn't hurt their hearts. They just fainted temporarily." "I know. If you really killed Feiyang, do you think you still have a chance to stand here and talk to me?" Uncle Yuan smiled faintly, revealing a domineering aura. Jiang Jingyi smiled bitterly. Uncle Yuan looked at Qin Feiyang, his eyes full of doting, and laughed. "You're already 16 years old and have grown a lot, but it's still far from enough." He gently raised his hand. Ling Yunfei, Feng Ling Er, Zhao Shuang and Luo Qingzhu flew over and floated in the air. "Qin Yuan, what are you doing?" Jiang Jingyi was suspicious. Uncle Yuan didn't answer. With a wave of his hand, the soil once again drowned Qin Feiyang and Wolf King. Seeing this, Jiang Jingyi was even more puzzled. "Feiyang, continue to work hard," Uncle Yuan muttered in a low voice, and then brought Jiang Zhengyi, Ling Yunfei, and the others into the sky. "Qin Yuan, you want to keep them?" Jiang Zhengyi was surprised. "Yes." Uncle Yuan nodded and didn't give any explanation. What's going on?" Jiang Zhengyi's mind was in a mess, and suddenly said, "Can you let Qingzhu stay too?" Uncle Yuan stopped in the air, frowned at Jiang Zhengyi, and said, "You want to match Feiyang and Luo Qingzhu?" Jiang Zhengyi nodded a little awkwardly. Uncle Yuan said, "To be honest, although your daughter is talented, she's not worthy of Feiyang." Jiang Zhengyi was very unconvinced. Uncle Yuan said again, "But this old man won't interfere in young people's affairs. Let nature take its course. From now on, let Feiyang mistakenly think that all of you are dead." "What?" Jiang Jingyi's face changed and said angrily, "He's just a 16-year-old child. Isn't it too cruel for you to do this?" "It's indeed a little cruel, but if Feiyang can't even bear this blow, how can he face a bigger blow in the future? He's not a child of an ordinary family. His life is destined to be full of ups and downs. In the future, there will be a crueler truth waiting for him," Uncle Yuan said meaningfully, then brought the few people and disappeared without a trace like lightning. A man and a wolf quietly lay on the ground. If someone encountered them, they would definitely think that these were two corpses. For a period of time in the future, no beast would dare to set foot in this area. 3 days later, King Pan's palace. The throne room had been rebuilt. King Pan sat on the dragon throne, quietly listening to the brawny man in golden armor. After listening to the story, he immediately clapped and laughed. "That little bastard is finally dead. I can finally vent my anger." The brawny man in golden armor was also full of smiles. Suddenly, he frowned again and asked, "Should we investigate that mysterious elite and that person called Zwan?" King Pan waved his hand and said, "No need. This is the county of Yan's business. As long as Qin Feiyang is dead, all of this has nothing to do with us. Besides, I'm happy to see the county of Yin in turmoil. The brawny man in golden armor nodded, and the corner of his mouth pursed into a cold smile. Another 2 days passed. In the sky above a dense forest outside Yin City, the first prince said worriedly, Senior Zhua, do you think that mysterious elite has something to do with Qin Feiyong and the others? Zuan pondered for a moment and shook his head. According to my guess, that person is probably just passing by. Otherwise, he would have killed us instead of just scaring us away. That's true. The first prince nodded. Ancestral patriarch Lin frowned and said, if Jiang Jingyi dies like this, the state government will definitely send people to investigate. I'm afraid we won't be able to explain it by then. That's easy. Zoran took out an illusion pill and changed into Jiang Jingyi's appearance. I was worried about not being able to enter Yin City. Now, I can openly stay in Yin City. Great. This way, even if Fatso and Lu Hong have spread the truth to Yin City, we can easily bite them back. The first prince laughed. That's not the point. The point is that the treasure pavilion in the county of Yin will be under my control in the future. Zoran also laughed. This is a good trick, but you have to be careful in front of Luo Qianxue. Don't expose yourself. Ancestral patriarch Lin warned. Let's just get rid of Luo Qianxue. Jia Hei's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Zoran shook his head. We can't kill her. If something goes wrong, we'll all be finished. Actually, don't worry. Luo Qianxue and Jiang Jingyi don't have a good relationship. I won't see her in the future. Then let's go. Ancestral patriarch Lin smiled. Let's go. In less than 10 years, the county of Yin will be under our control. Haha. Zoran laughed maniacally as he led his men into Yin City brazenly. Soon, a sensational piece of news spread like wildfire in Yin City. Qin Feiyong, Luo Qingzhu, Zhao Shuang Feng Ling Ling Yunfei, and the third Prince Wei Tai colluded with each other to steal the herbs of the potential pill and the red fireglass pill. Jiang Jingyi had already executed them on the spot in the Yinpan mountain range. However, Chapter 235. Swallow Pan Mountain Range. Late at night, the full moon hung in the sky, and moonlight spread out. It made this mountain range seem as if it was covered in a layer of silver. Everything seemed hazy and hazy. Suddenly, a hand stretched out from the soil. That hand was as pale as paper. At first glance, it looked like the hand of a dead person. After a few breaths, another head popped up from the soil. It was the face of a youth. It was also deathly pale, but there was a determination between his brows that his peers did not have. If someone was here, they would definitely think that it was a zombie. It was Qin Feiyong. He took in big breaths of fresh air. At the same time, through the moonlight, he scanned his surroundings, his eyes full of surprise. I'm actually not dead. After a long time, he muttered to himself and crawled out of the soil. Without his left hand, it was very difficult for him to crawl. This is still the Swallow Pan mountain range. But why am I not dead? Qin Feiyong furrowed his brows and looked inside his body. So that's how it is. Jiang Jingyi didn't kill me. When he saw the wound next to his heart, he suddenly came to a realization. That's not right. Jiang Jingyi didn't kill me. So he definitely didn't kill Wolf King and the others. He was refreshed and hurriedly swallowed a healing pill. Then, he used his true qi to throw away the soil under his feet. Wolf King quickly entered his line of sight. White-eyed wolf, he shouted and squatted beside Wolf King. He reached out and pressed his hand on its lower abdomen. Sure enough, there was a heartbeat. After dragging Wolf King out and giving it a top-grade healing pill, Qin Feiyong began to dig again. But after half an hour, he still couldn't find Ling Yunfei and the others. Where are they? He sat on the ground, and a terrifying thought crawled into his mind. Could it be that they were already smashed into pieces? He grabbed Wolf King and entered the castle. Boss, are you okay? Do you know how we spent the past 5 days? Fatso and Lu Hong immediately surrounded him and looked at him with concern. 5 days ago, they really wanted to go out and help, but they couldn't think of a way to leave the castle even after racking their brains. They could only watch helplessly and anxiously. Every minute and second of these 5 days was torture for them. 5 days have already passed? Qin Feiyong was stunned. He shook his head and said, "It's okay. It's just an arm." Lu Hong said angrily, "You call losing your arm fine?" Qin Feiyong said, "I'm really fine. 5 days ago, after I fainted, did you hear anything?" "We heard Zhang Jingyi say to let Luo Qingzhu live well. Then, I heard the sound of soil rolling. In the end, we could only faintly hear the sounds of battle. After a while, the outside world fell into a dead silence." Fatso said, "The sound of rolling soil." Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment and said, as expected, "Zhang Jingyi seemed to be killing us on the surface, but he was actually protecting us." He appeared in the sinkhole with Fatso and Lu Hong and said, "Since Zhang Jingyi said to let Luo Qingzhu live well, then she should be here too. Quickly help find her." The two of them immediately began to search carefully. "Senior Jiang, are you still alive?" Qin Feiyong looked at the full moon and muttered to himself, his body exuding an unresolvable sadness. He knew very well in his heart, the chances of Zhang Jingyi being alive were too slim. Suddenly, he felt something in his arms. When he reached out to take a look, his body and mind trembled. He could tell at a glance that this was not his Qinkuan bag. He hurriedly checked. The next moment, he took out a blood-stained shirt. "This is Zhang Jingyi's shirt." Qin Feiyong's gaze trembled. On it, he saw a few words in blood. He squatted on the ground and spread out the shirt. Under the hazy moonlight, he looked carefully. "Feiyong, when you wake up, I have already died at the hands of Zhuan. In this life, I have no regrets. There is only one, Qingzhu and Qianxue. I hope that you can help me take care of the mother and daughter. The treasures in the Qinkuan bag will be your reward." These were the words that Zhang Jingyi left for him. Qin Feiyong sat on the ground, looking at the bloody words. Tears couldn't help but fall from the corners of his eyes. His face, because of the pain, had been distorted. After a while, Fatso and Lu Hong walked over. When they saw the bloody words on the shirt, they also felt sad. "Have you found it?" Qin Feiyong asked in a hoarse voice. "No." The two of them shook their heads. "Continue to search. Expand the range. You must find it," Qin Feiyong said. "Okay." The two of them nodded and scattered to search. But after half an hour, they still found nothing. Fatso said, "Boss, although it's hard for you to accept, I still have to say that Ling Yunfei and Luo Qingzhu are very likely to have been impossible. Zhang Jingyi will definitely put us together. If they were eaten by the beasts, Wolf King and I will not be spared. What's more, there are no traces of the beasts around here." Qin Feiyong suddenly got up and roared in a low voice. Lu Hong suggested, "Let's wait for Brother Wolf to wake up and let it smell. Maybe it will find some clues." After Qin Feiyong calmed down, he led the two of them into the castle. Wolf King still showed no signs of waking up. Lu Hong said worriedly, "What about your lost arm?" Qin Feiyong said, "The rebirth elixir can regrow an arm. It's just that I don't have the recipe for the rebirth elixir yet. But it's definitely in the elixir mantra, so don't worry." Fatso said, "Didn't Zhang Jingyi give you his Qinkuan bag? Maybe there are rebirth elixirs in his Qinkuan bag. Let Fat Lord look for it." Qin Feiyong nodded and tossed the Qinkuan bag to Fatso. Fatso and Lu Hong quickly tidied it up. Qin Feiyong looked at the bloody clothes in his hands. The intense killing intent in his heart was like a torrent that crazily attacked his rationality. Fortunately, his willpower was strong enough. If it was anyone else, they would have been bedeviled long ago. Strange, why are there only some low-level elixirs in the Qinkuan bag? Fatso suddenly asked in bewilderment. That's normal. Although Zhang Jingyi is the chief pavilion master of the Yin County and controls the precious treasure pavilions of all the cities, he is an upright person and would not stuff his own pockets. I'm afraid that the high-level elixirs are all in the vault of the precious treasure pavilions," Qin Feiyong said. "That's true." Fatso nodded and continued. "However, the potential elixir herbs that Zhang Jingyi swept in the Pan County and the herbs that won the competition are all in there. There should be a few 100 million gold coins." Qin Feiyong was not most concerned about the herbs and gold coins right now. Instead, he was most concerned about the safety of Ling Yunfei and the others. Fatso put away the Qinkuan bag and said, Lu Hong and I have already recorded down Jia He and the others' conversation. Should we contact Yin Nanshan and the others now? Record. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. Fatso chuckled. After following you for so long, we know this common sense. Well done. Qin Feiyang patted him on the shoulder and took out the image crystal, infusing his true qi into it. Instantly, the image crystal shone brightly. At the same time, the Martial King Palace of the Yin County, in Yin Nanshan's courtyard. Hall Master, even if you beat me to death, I don't believe that Qin Feiyang would do such a thing. There must be something fishy about this. Elder Wan's angry voice came from the attic. In front of the tea table in the living room of the attic, Yin Nanshan and the beautiful woman were sitting on the chairs, their faces gloomy. Elder Wan was pacing back and forth beside the tea table, his old face full of anger. Yin Nanshan said angrily, "Old Wan, can you stop for a moment?" "How can I stop? You actually said that Qin Feiyang and the others wanted to take those herbs for themselves. Is that possible?" Elder Wan said angrily, "We don't believe it either, but Jiang Jingyi said it himself. Jiang Jingyi has always been impartial. Since he said so, then it must be true." Yin Nanshan and the beautiful woman said one after another. Buzz. At this time, Elder Wan's image crystal suddenly reacted. "Who sent a message at this time? Don't you know that I'm very annoyed now?" He frowned and took out the image crystal. An illusionary figure swiftly appeared. When they saw the shadow, the three giants suddenly stood up with ecstasy in their eyes, because the shadow was Qin Feiyang. At the same time, in the castle, Qin Feiyang looked at the three and asked, "Hall Master, two elders, is there anyone else with you?" The three shook their heads. "Qin Feiyang, what's going on? Why did Jiang Jingyi say that you wanted to take those herbs for yourself? What's wrong with your arm?" The three hurriedly asked. "What? Jiang Jingyi has returned to Yin City?" Qin Feiyang was very surprised. Fatso and Lu Hong also had a look of disbelief. Elder Wan said, "Yes, not long ago. Jia He and the first prince also came back." "That's not right. Why would Jiang Jingyi go back? And with Jia He and the others?" Qin Feiyang lowered his head and his mind was in a mess. A moment later, he raised his head and looked at Yin Nanshan and the others, asking, "What did you guys say about taking the herbs for yourself?" Elder Wan said, "It was Jiang Jingyi who said it. He said that you and Luo Qingzhu wanted to embezzle the medicinal herbs we won this time, but he discovered it. So, he put righteousness before family and killed you and Luo Qingzhu." Yin Nanshan said, "He also said that you destroyed those herbs. Is that true?" Elder Ji chimed in, "Quickly tell us honestly, did you do that? Do you have those medicinal herbs with you now?" Qin Feiyang closed his eyes and calmed himself down. He slowly thought about it. Yin Nanshan and the others did not rush him either. A few dozen breaths later, Qin Feiyang's body shuddered and his eyes sprang open. Two brilliant glows burst out from his eyes. He looked at the three of them once more and nodded. "The herbs are indeed with me." "What?" The three of them were startled and slumped in their seats. So, Jiang Jingyi was telling the truth. Qin Feiyang continued, "But Jiang Jingyi gave them to me personally. Hall Master, elders, you must be mentally prepared for what I'm going to say next." The three of them exchanged glances, their eyes filled with doubt. Yin Nanshan said, "Go on." Qin Feiyang said, "The real Jiang Jingyi has been killed. If I'm not wrong, the current Jiang Jingyi in Yin City must be Zuan in disguise. That was because Zuan's strength was similar to Jiang Jingyi's. Only by impersonating him would he not be discovered." The three of them stood up in unison and looked at Qin Feiyang in disbelief. "It's like this." Qin Feiyang narrated the situation from 5 days ago in detail. Thereafter, you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.